Bomb Squad and the Special Enforcement Bureau works on explosives in two distinct areas. One of the areas is the detection and identification of suspicious homebrew pipe bombs or bombs that somebody may make and try to detonate, or potential explosives that are found in the course of law enforcement investigations and activity. That's where we see them most. You see them put out the bomb robot, and the person puts on the green, they call it the Gumby suit, and walks up to try to identify if something really is a bomb, and if it is, how to deal with it and get rid of it so it's no longer a hazard. That's the visible part. The other side of the Bomb Squad's activities are training with their own explosive devices, because sometimes those are used in hostage-type situations, or if the special enforcement needs to serve a warrant and get inside a place that's fortified, they use their own explosives to blast off doors or windows, or even go through a wall in order to get access to something that's otherwise too dangerous to go through a conventional door. And that's the kind of training that goes on a lot. Because not only are members of the Bomb Squad trained this way, but some members of the SWAT elements that would go out and actually use those small explosive devices, they train a lot of in that way as well. But live explosives are typically, just in my anecdotal experience, are typically trained with and used on an explosives range, for lack of a better description, a large outdoor shooting range, a place where it's safe to detonate things. Not necessarily inside a classroom, inside a building. So that's part of what we're kind of scratching our heads about, trying to piece this together. They do lots of explosives training out at their facility in Castaic. That's where they've got the jail facility, but they also have a huge space for outdoor gunfire and explosives training, and we've seen deputies out there using explosives many times before. How something that is a potential actual explosive device potentially inside a classroom, that one is part of what we're having a hard time sorting out, because from all the folks that we speak with, they're so careful about this stuff, and they generally take extraordinary precautions when they're going to detonate something. It seems difficult to understand how this could happen indoors.
Well, the other difficulty, Eric, in the preliminary reporting of something like this is the fact, because this is an LASD training center, there are a lot of emergency vehicles and personnel there, so it's hard to tell which vehicles and personnel are responding to this scene versus what was already present.
Right. So I would say that if you see all of these sheriff's vehicles that are neatly backed into parking spaces, there's a good chance those are cars that were stationed there, or they're vehicles that were stationed there. If you look at the top of the picture on News Chopper 4, there are a number of what look like pickup trucks with covered pickup beds in the back. Right. Those are Bomb Squad trucks. Those do not look like they were parked in the parking lot. They look like they're visiting. We're making a bit of a leap here because we don't know what was happening before this. We don't know what cars were or weren't there. But those pickup trucks with the covered beds are part of the Bomb Squad's fleet of vehicles. It carries all of their technical equipment. Those are the trucks and the cars that we believe are connected with the event that was going on this morning.
Yeah, and we're just trying to figure out what is exactly going on here. I can see in one of our monitors here, we do have a scene getting set up, a crew getting set up there on the ground, and we're going to share those images with you shortly. But again, this is an image from News Chopper 4 from the air. Eric, we had heard from Julia Deng in News Chopper 4 that the Sheriff's Department may be requesting a TFR, essentially asking people to stay away from this area as they fly overhead, and the reason being might be for privacy. So can you talk to us about that process, why that would be, particularly if this might have happened indoors?
Yeah, TFR is an FAA term for temporary flight restriction. That the FAA governs access to the airspace. Airspace in the United States is public, and there are only limited limited reasons why public airspace can be closed. And so one of those reasons is if there is some kind of sensitive law enforcement activity, but typically it has to involve an actual risk, not a request for privacy, but I'm sure our pilot and our air crew would know a lot more about that. There are many times where there are explosive items or suspected explosive items, and there is a concern not only about the noise from aircraft being overhead, but even electronic transmissions being too close to them. Oftentimes members of the bomb squad won't use even two-way radios because they're concerned about the potential of setting something off. So there are circumstances where a TFR would be used if it involves something that it relates to a suspected explosive device. What's different here, of course, is that the people handling whatever happened this morning are people who you would expect to be experts and know full well exactly what was being handled, what the hazards are, and what the potential risks are for dealing with whatever the substances or objects or devices are. We really don't know at this point. So as far as a reason for a TFR, we'll have to wait and see. The FAA usually puts some notations in that when that happens.
So, Eric, we have confirmed now, and our viewers are able to see that they have confirmed that there have been 3 fatalities involved in this explosion at this LASD training center. In your investigations, talking with your sources, reiterate again for our viewers what you've been able to uncover.
So our information is that members of the LA County Sheriff's Department's Special Enforcement Bureau, SEB, and specifically what we call the Bomb Squad, were working this morning. We were originally told it was some kind of a training exercise, but that seems to be evolving at this point. They were using the facility there, which is in East Los Angeles. It is the home base for the Special Enforcement Bureau, which of course includes the Bomb Squad, and we're working on some kind of device. And there was what was initially described as a training accident. Now I've got several people there telling me just an accident. This may be connected, according to a couple of our law enforcement contacts, this may be connected with a call that the Bomb Squad was involved in yesterday. Don't have a location on that. And we are told that from, again, several people within law enforcement that there are 3 fatalities. There is a sheriff's sergeant who was critically injured. That would be one of the people that was taken from the scene. There may be other injuries as well, but that's what we've been able to piece together so far.
So just to be clear, this is possibly connected to something from yesterday, part of the Bomb Squad operations. We can't speculate, but just trying to put the pieces together of this puzzle. Is it something that they may have taken from that scene that then detonated, and there's still some concern and some risk? Yeah, you've summed that up exactly right, that there may have been an investigation that followed up from another event that the Bomb Squad was involved in. But again, in the past, when we have seen law enforcement collect what they believe to be potential explosive devices, they generally don't drive them into an office building. We have seen them either what they call render them safe, meaning they will put up sandbags and clear people out for blocks around and then try to destroy that item right there in place because it's so dangerous to drive around with something that's a potential suspected explosive. We saw that terrible accident a couple of years ago in South Los Angeles where the LAPD was trying to detonate fireworks, illegal fireworks that were found at a home because the risk of driving that quantity of fireworks around was so great. And we saw they had an awful accident. That's the mindset that we usually see. There is a great concern about moving something that's a potential live explosive. They try to detonate it, or in their terminology, render it safe right then and there. Sometimes they'll use a water cannon to try to blast apart the components to make it no longer a dangerous explosive. And then in other circumstances where we have seen the Sheriff's Department and LAPD, other local law enforcement, deal with a potential explosive device that they did not want to
try to render safe or destroy in place, it'll be taken to a place that is far away from buildings and people and sheriff stations. Sometimes we were talking a minute ago that they have a huge explosive range out in Castaic where they can practice with explosives, and there's lots of open space around. They can blow things up out there without the risk of people being injured. We've seen them take suspected items out to places like that. We've seen sometimes items be taken out to big open lots in San Pedro down by the harbor. Rarely do we see that something that has a potential of being an explosive device being brought indoors. So that's why perhaps the description of this as an accident is apt. Originally, we were hearing from some of our law enforcement contacts. They were describing this as a training accident. That has evolved in the last half hour or so. They're now telling us this is more of an accident, and it may involve an actual response from the bomb squad to some kind of event either yesterday or last night.
And Eric, we do understand that the FBI is now heading to that facility to begin with their part of the investigation regarding this. I do want to go back to something that you said earlier in your reporting, that your contacts had told you that this incident was almost unbelievable. Is that because of where it happened? Is that because of the casualties and fatalities that we're now reporting? When you're hearing unbelievable, and why was that used as a descriptor there?
Well, for a few reasons. One is everything we were just discussing about that items that are suspected of being live explosive devices are not typically brought to a sheriff's facility until they know they're safe. And the people that are involved in doing these sorts of things, the experts at the bomb squad, or in what they sometimes call their arson and explosive sections, are so cautious. Their whole operational footing is based on being careful with things that they know are extraordinarily dangerous and deadly. So any kind of accident in that world is, to the people that are closest to it, unbelievable, because there are so many precautions taken, and the people that are handling these items are, for lack of a better description, subject matter experts. These are the people that not only know what they're dealing with, but know the potential danger of what they're dealing with. And that, I think, is what led to the characterization of people inside the Sheriff's Department and other law enforcement agencies saying this was unbelievable. I have a little bit more information now from two contacts familiar with what's happening. The bomb squad from the LA County Sheriff's Department had a call last night that involved somebody reporting that they had found two pieces of what were described as possible military ordnance. Now, this is a very common call for all of the local bomb squads because this happens a lot when there are, let's say, elderly family members who may pass away, family starts cleaning out the attic, and they find some sort of military object that could be like an old expended artillery shell or something that looks like a grenade. And 99% of the time, these are sort of curios, relics. They're inert, but somebody finds something that looks like a piece of military something, explosives or something like that, and they call 911. The bomb squad goes out and looks at it. So this is the nature of the call that was received last night. Members of the bomb squad were told from two people familiar with this situation, they collected two pieces of possible military ordnance, and the people from the Sheriff's Bomb Squad who were handling those are the ones that were involved in whatever happened this morning. We're also told that the explosion itself happened in the parking lot, not inside a classroom. So it may have been during a time where these items or devices were being unloaded or moved from one vehicle to another. Not exactly sure on that, but it happened in the area where the component of the Sheriff's SEB, again, Special Enforcement Bureau, encompasses a lot of different units. The arson and explosives detail, what we call the bomb squad, that is a component of SEB, and this happened around their part of the facility somewhere in the parking lot.
So, Eric, we understand that Sheriff Luna will be getting on scene soon, and will be addressing the media at some point to give us some information. We, of course, will have all of that when that does happen. Can we go back to, again, your sources telling you who was involved in this? We do know that there were 3 people who were killed. We don't know about any other injuries, but you have some information about some of the people who were involved.
Yeah, so we know that the 3 people who are deceased were closest to this detonation, and then there was a sheriff's sergeant who was critically injured and was taken to the scene and is at a hospital. The Sheriff's Department is in the process of notifying its own personnel. This is something that happens pretty quickly because these big law enforcement agencies, everybody knows everybody, and rather than allow the rumor mill to spread information, the department is pretty quick about notifying work colleagues and others about what happened and who may have been involved. So that information is just circulating right now.
Eric, taking a look at this picture right here, so what we think we're seeing right in the middle of the screen right now, it appears to be a patrol vehicle, possibly with the windshield kind of blown out. So would that be consistent, the rear windshield, would that be consistent with what you're hearing about regarding this incident, that something happened in the parking lot involving an explosive device? I know that it might be really elementary and redundant what I'm saying here, but we're just really trying to piece together what happened. That's what we believe that we're seeing right now, and that's what we're hearing about. Have you been able to, I guess, take a look at this image right here, and what are your thoughts on this, and if it's consistent with what you're hearing from your contacts and sources?
Yeah, so our information, again, from 2 folks familiar in law enforcement, say that this happened in the area of the parking lot that's used by arson and explosives. If the camera tilts down just a little bit under those tents, the easy up or shade tents, that's where the Sheriff's Department parks all of its bomb squad hardware.
Something in or taking
a
something out
of
the bomb squad truck.
Okay, Scott, and we're getting word that the Governor's Office of Emergency Management Services is now getting involved, and we're hoping perhaps to get a statement from them that'll give us a little more information. Primarily what we're going on right now is everything that Scott's seen. Air 7 was overhead very early on, sadly, when these victims were still uncovered, and that's where we get the basic information that there are 3 victims at this bomb squad headquarters in East LA. And now you can see a massive investigation underway involving firefighters and the LA bomb squad that has also been called in.
We're about 15 seconds away from taking a break and going back to ABC 7, which we call our linear side. Our streaming will continue. John Gregory, I'm Philip Palmer, Scott Reif, Bruce Thomas, Monica DeAnda, all involved in our coverage here of this deadly explosion at the Sheriff's Department training facility. We will be right back in just a few seconds.
This is Eyewitness News with live breaking news.
And good morning, I'm John Gregory. We're covering breaking news in Monterey Park where a terrible incident is unfolding. This is the Sheriff's Department's bomb squad headquarters where there are 3 victims in that parking lot. We don't know exactly what happened. We think it was some type of explosion. Scott Reif is live in Air 7 with the latest for us.
Yeah, John, the initial call came out at an explosion at the SCB compound, the LA County Sheriff's SCB compound. SCB is Special Enforcement Bureau, like the SWAT team, and this is the bomb squad area of their compound. When we got on scene initially, we saw 2 bodies that were face down, deceased, and then another body that was covered. They did appear to be LA County Sheriff's deputies, but that has not been confirmed. Now, since that time, they've sectioned this area off. They're not allowing anyone in. They're really trying to determine exactly what happened here this morning, what they were dealing with, what process they were following when they were moving some of these explosives, exactly what happened. And to determine some of that, they brought in the LAPD bomb squad. It looks like they may be the leading authority going in and clearing the area. It's yet to be seen. But certainly a tragic, tragic incident here at the LA County Sheriff SCB compound in Monterey Park, East LA, Monterey Park area. John?
All right, Scott, thanks.
And along with John Gregory, I'm Philip Palmer, and Monica DeAnda is also out at the scene. She's on the ground. And Monica, you have mentioned that this is kind of fluid for you. They're moving the cameras around and keeping reporters and cameras away from that scene. Okay, Monica's...
That
there it
is
is
where that training facility is. Can you guys hear me?
Now we can. Go ahead if you could restart for us.
Okay, great. So we're seeing a lot of activity, a lot of law enforcement vehicles moving in and out of this road here off of Eastern, trying to make their way into that facility, including the LAPD bomb squad, which you guys mentioned, and we saw as they moved in here about 10 minutes ago. They are going to assist with this investigation, likely because, of course, there was an explosion here and that equipment may be compromised. So that's why they're bringing in the equipment from the LAPD, their bomb team in here now. As of course, this is a very unprecedented situation. Details are very limited. The sheriff's office only confirming there was a loud boom. That's it. So we're here on the ground trying to find out more. Air 7, of course, is overhead, and we'll continue to update you as we learn more. For now, reporting here in East LA, I'm Monica DeAnda. Back to you guys.
Okay, Monica, thank you. We have David Ono on the phone, and David did some training with the Sheriff's Department bomb squad. David, any idea, any assessment of what may have been going on here?
No, I don't, but I will say that this is an unprecedented, as Monica was talking about, an unprecedented accident that I find shocking, and I'm sure the Sheriff's Department finds it that way as well. In training with SCB, I learned so much about how they operate and how elite this group is. They're considered one of the top SWAT units in the world, and in fact, when I was training with them in their academy, we had many SWAT members from other parts of the world, from Italy. We had Navy SEALs with us training, and they're exceptional people who know their craft really well. And during our training, and it's a week-long academy, it gets really intense. And part of that training is explosives training. They teach you how to handle an explosion when you're nearby and avoid concussion, what to do with your ears, what to do with your mouth. And then they'll do stuff like blow off a door, and then you run inside in your stack with your group. And then you do a lot of classroom training as well on how to handle explosives, what to do with explosives when they're nearby. So to see an accident like this is really shocking because these guys are so careful and they're so good at what they do, especially at SEB. That's one part of it. The other part of it is this is such a unique unit that they are small. Granted, the Sheriff's Department as a whole is as many as 10,000 deputies, but you whittle it down. When I was part of SEB, there was only 80 guys.
What is the latest information that you're receiving from your contacts and sources?
We're good, not just the Sheriff's Department. That earlier this week, members of the Sheriff's Department Arson and Explosives Section, which we call the Bomb Squad, it's under the umbrella of what they call their Special Enforcement Bureau, brought 2 items, or maybe more items, but at least 2 items back to the facility here where they operate out of. This is like their office headquarters that were described to us as potential military ordnance. It's not exactly clear what they are. And at some point after bringing those items back to the parking lot, there was an explosion, and that's where the sheriff's employees were killed. We know a sheriff's sergeant was critically injured and was taken from the scene. As far as what they were doing, it's really unclear. Several people in local law enforcement have told us that it would be unusual for any suspected live explosive device to be brought back to this facility. Typically, if there's a suspicion that something is hazardous and a potential explosive, it's detonated either at the scene or someplace remote, away from people and buildings. And so that's why there is a lot of confusion in the law enforcement circles this morning about what exactly happened here. The Sheriff's Department is in the process of notifying its own personnel about who was injured in this, and the investigators working on this case are still, as far as we know, on their way out there. So it may be a little while before we get real specific clarity about what they think happened this morning and how this could possibly happen. People in the law enforcement community have told us they find this hard to believe, especially because the people that were handling these items, members of what we believe to be the Sheriff's Arson and Explosives Section, what we call their bomb squad, are the absolute experts who not only know how to safely handle these items, but also know about their potential danger.
So, Eric, let's bring our viewers up to speed now that we are at the top of the hour in terms of what you've been able to uncover, how this may have began, that there may have been some sort of investigation, a situation last night or yesterday with the bomb squad, and they didn't really realize the dangers of what they had in their possession.
Well, that's one potential scenario. We're operating off of fragments of information, but what we know for certain is that from several contacts is that last night members of the Sheriff's Bomb Squad were sent out to investigate potential, what they're calling pieces of military ordnance, but exactly what they were is not clear to us. Oftentimes, bomb squads get calls when members of the public discover something. Sometimes it's in a grandpa's garage or attic that looks like a piece of military hardware, a potential explosive device, and usually it's something inert. It's a souvenir old artillery cartridge or a disarmed hand grenade from the 1950s, and it's nothing. So these calls are very routine, but we're told they collected whatever these items were and for reasons that we don't know yet, brought them back to the parking lot at the headquarters of Sheriff's Arson and Explosives, and we're told that's when there was a detonation or an explosion of some kind earlier today, where the Sheriff's Department personnel are being notified there were 3 fatalities, at least 1 critical injury of a sheriff's sergeant. The identity of the people who were involved is being sent out to their colleagues at work. And lots of different investigators are headed to the scene to try to piece together what happened. We can even just see from our helicopter pictures, members of the LAPD bomb squad are there. Agents from several federal agencies are on their way there. And then the Sheriff's Department itself, which now has to try to understand what happened out here in the parking lot early this morning. People who are in this line of work, both at the Sheriff's Department and other agencies, say it would be very unusual for anyone to bring what they believe to be a live explosive device back to an office complex, for lack of a better description of what we're looking at here, let alone to put it, to handle it hands-on if there was any chance that it was hazardous or had an explosive potential. So a lot of questions and not a lot of answers right now.
And Eric, we're now hearing that a number of federal, state, and local officials have been briefed on what happened here, including the governor here. I did want to ask you about the situation here. You brought up the unbelievable. That's how it was described to the context of this, because of the who was involved, what they were handling, where it happened. Is there still a threat as far as you know? Do you think that there's still something that may not have detonated or exploded as of yet?
Well, given what has happened already, that has to be their concern. And I think when we saw the image that showed the area where it looked like this incident had taken place, with the shattered back window of a sheriff's SUV, some kind of brown object or bag sitting nearby, you could see there were other, it looked like firefighters and some sheriff's deputies who were close by, but they were all standing behind the large fire truck that was parked nearby. We are told there is concern about getting any closer until they're able to deal with whatever may be left over. For all we know, there's something inside one of those vehicles. The brown object that we see in the parking lot could be involved. And so there's going to be a process that takes place here where those items and the vehicles that were driven by the folks who were involved in whatever happened last night and this morning have to be looked at really carefully to rule out the possibility, however remote that is, that there is anything left that could still detonate. Again, we're doing a little bit of informed speculation here, but if it is, I think it's not a leap to think that whatever these items were not perhaps expected to be explosive. If that's the case, there may be other objects that looked inert at one point that now they're very concerned about. And considering what we're told here is the loss of life, there is absolutely no reason they're going to rush into anything here. They are going to proceed with an extraordinary amount of caution, assuming that anything that they haven't examined is a potential hazard at this point. Our best information is that there were 2 particular items that were collected by members of the Sheriff's Bomb Squad, Arson and Explosives Detail, at a call last night. We don't know if one or both of those items may be responsible for the explosion this morning. We also don't know if the number 2 is correct. Maybe it's 3, maybe it's not. We want to be extraordinarily cautious moving forward.
Stay with us.
Did you guys hear or see anything when this was happening at 7:30 this morning? And so we're learning a little bit more about what's happening here, an explosion at a training academy. Can you kind of run me through the area, this business, what other businesses are around here?
We're getting a lot of feedback and information now from different city leaders as well. Lindsay Horvath.
Well, kind of run me through the area, this business, what other businesses are around here.
Well, I know we have our business. There's a lot of county properties right here up the street, including the Sheriff's Department and their training facilities. Also, you know, we have just the local facilities like the ice cream. We have the Dolores soup packing warehouse. I mean, that's pretty much what I know about in the area. So.
And you haven't heard any other information from neighboring businesses about whether or not they're closing or evacuating, anything like that?
No, we haven't heard anything yet.
And you all are open right now?
We are.
As of now, we are. We're going to wait for further direction from the deputies. You know, if they have any more information for us, they're going to let us know.
Yeah. How close would you say this business is to the facility up the road? I know someone across the street said about half a mile.
Yeah, less than a mile, half a mile.
All right. Thank you guys for talking to us. So, again, this is Eastern and Mariana, one of multiple closures around the training center here where this all happened. And as you saw earlier, multiple black and whites as well as unmarked vehicles passing through this intersection. Sandra and Araxia, we'll send it back to you in the studio for now.
Mario, thank you for that. As you gather more information, talking to perhaps any witnesses there or people on the ground, we are showing you an aerial look of the training facility we've been talking about, where an explosion unfortunately killed 3 LASD deputies. One has been transported. This all happening at 7:30 this morning, and we understand, according to Fox News, this was just a terrible accident. LA Times reporting that the bomb squad there at the training facility may have been moving some explosives when this blast occurred. Again, a lot of details coming out this morning, still very fluid in terms of what we can confirm and what's actual fact. We do know that Governor Gavin Newsom, the FBI, U.S. Attorney General, and the U.S. Attorney for the Central District, Bill Asaley, they all are aware of this. Federal agents are there responding to the scene, helping with this investigation and trying to determine not only what exactly happened, but to facilitate this in the aftermath. Again, this just happening at 7:30 this morning. Obviously, a lot of the employees at the center, the training facility, asked to leave the area so that the investigation can be conducted, as well as those employees reporting to work have been turned away. There is a large perimeter that's been put in place around the training facility so that people do not get in the way of obviously this very sensitive time right now.
So this training facility is located adjacent to the 710 freeway. It is just south of the 10 freeway and the CSULA campus, which is in East LA. And this facility actually opened back in 2017. Right now we're seeing some statements that are being put out. statements, for example, by Attorney General Pam Bondi and federal agents who are there on the ground right now on the scene, saying, I just spoke to the U.S. Attorney, and it appears to be a horrific incident that killed at least 3 law enforcement training facility there in Los Angeles. This is according to Attorney General Pam Bondi. Our federal agents are at the scene and we are working to learn more. Please pray for the families of the sheriff's deputies who were killed. The office of Governor Gavin Newsom has been briefed on the situation and is offering full assistance in response to this. Obviously, this is just developing and we're trying to get more information, but it appears that there is no immediate danger to the surrounding area. This is why we're able to get as close as we are. It looks like there is some traffic flowing within the surrounding area. There are no homes. There are businesses, as you saw Mario speaking to some business owners there. But many of them, it seems, didn't even hear anything or feel anything when this happened just before 7:30 this morning. Let's see, we're also getting a statement right now from LA County Board of Supervisors, Catherine Barger, who is monitoring the situation, saying, I'm heartbroken to hear of the terrible tragedy that has unfolded today at an LA County Sheriff's Department facility. I'm closely tracking the situation as we learn more about what occurred and the condition of those impacted. My heart is heavy and my thoughts are with the brave men and women of the Sheriff's Department during this difficult time. We stand with them and their families as they navigate the hours and days ahead. We have to keep in mind, of course, now that we know at least 3 LAUSD deputies lost their lives to this tragic incident, and 1 has been injured and taken to the hospital. Their families may be unaware and not know, right? And so we have to wait and see when they're notified, and then we're able to get more information and pass it along to the viewers.
This is just so tragic because this is a training facility, as Mario was talking about, some people on the ground there that is well known in the community. This is where special units of the sheriff deputies and the sheriff's department come to train. And obviously the SEB and the bomb squad, part of these specialized units that are training here at this facility. And to go into work thinking it's a safe place, it's a routine day, it's a Friday that they were going to go over their training, and the training is done with the utmost safety precautions in place, with professionals around you. You think that you're going into a safe space and taking all the right measures, all the right precautions to train for your job, and then to have something like this, a tragic accident happen on the facility where you are learning to be the best of the best, is really just so heartbreaking and unexpected, to say the least. So clearly our hearts and prayers and thoughts are with the family members who may or may not have been identified or notified at this point, because we do not know the identities yet of those involved. But clearly this is just such a tragic incident to have happened here at this training facility, as we're getting more information at this point. But again, a lot of people, as you saw from Mario's scene, kind of looking out their businesses, their shops, maybe stopping by. That is probably not the most encouraged action to do, because of the fact that so many people, agents from different bureaus, are coming in to help in this investigation, and it is a very active scene. I know that the public is trying to show their support, but clearly this is not the time nor the location to go and flock to at this point.
So as we watch this and we wait to get more information, we can share what we do know. We do know that an explosion was reported around 7:25 this morning at this facility, which is located at 1000 block of Eastern Avenue. The roads in the area are closed due to this investigation, which can last for several hours, and I'm sure it'll last much longer than that. What we don't know is the details of what caused this immediate explosion. We don't have information in that sense. What we are seeing and saying is that Attorney General Pam Bondi and federal agents are there on the ground working the scene. We did hear that the Los Angeles Police Department has also offered their bomb training experts to the scene as well. We also sadly have confirmation that 3 LASD deputies were killed in this explosion, and one individual who was injured has been taken to the hospital. So still a lot that is unknown at this point, and it'll take a while to get the details as to what exactly happened, why it exactly happened, but obviously this was an accident. You know, when you speak to law enforcement, the one thing they will always tell you is that there is no routine day for them, really, especially when they're facing just their day-to-day jobs. There is no routine traffic stop. There is no routine because much of what they deal with.
Bruce, my dad was a cop for 25 years, and I have some understanding of the culture of being a police officer.
Investigators now setting up right behind the fire truck here. It looks to me like they're going to be here for quite some time as more agencies get involved and more people appear on scene.
Just curious, though, you know, it's like if it's unclear at this point if there still might be explosive devices that they're not wearing that protective suit that Eric Leonard talked to us about earlier. It's often referred to as the Gumby suit that keeps responding officers safe from an explosion. So it's like you kind of see some personnel at the scene getting a little bit closer to that patrol vehicle that appeared to have its back window blown out, but they're not necessarily wearing that protective gear.
That's right. I mean, Adrian, there was somebody standing right behind the pole that's in front of this SUV, and he had no protective gear on. You know, he didn't even have a hard hat on. You see two people walking up to it right now. So that tells me they've probably confirmed at this point, nearly 2 hours after this explosion was first called out around 7:30 this morning. That tells me they've confirmed now there are no additional explosives in the parking lot. And then the helicopters flying up here, we have not been pushed higher up. There additionally were concerns about having to move us from 1,000 to 5,000 feet over the scene. That hasn't happened. So it looks to me like this scene is safe, it is contained, and that's why two men are now right up against that police tape. It looks like they're taking more photos and just scoping out the scene. So hopefully we get a little bit more information soon as they make their way closer to this vehicle.
All right, thank you for that, Julia Dang. We know we're going to continue to go back to you as you get some information about this. We want to show you a map that will give you a better idea of exactly where this LASD training facility is in relation to the freeways. I think we do have that map that we've been told to show you at this point to give you a good idea of where exactly it is.
Yeah, so I mean, it's just off the 710 between the 10 and the 60 as we get that map ready for you, and we'll show it to you in just a moment. But
there we go.
Yeah, so it's relatively near the Monterey Park Golf Club. It's kind of like right near the City Terrace area, Ramona Gardens, Wellington Heights, Maravilla neighborhoods as well. And this is well known for reporters like us. I know that I've been out there several times. Particularly, I've gone out there a few times whenever we're talking with the Special Enforcement Bureau, the helicopter team, the rescue team, the teams that will go in to certain canyons to rescue stranded hikers. And so, again, this houses really, for lack of a better term, a number of different entities within the department. We talked about the training for explosive devices, the bomb squad. So you have different personnel from different aspects of the department there training and conducting their exercises there. And this gives you an idea of where it's happening.
We saw a sheriff's SUV on the scene with blown out windows at one point. And to give you a little background, this facility serves as a full-scale training center for the LA County Sheriff's Department, and it offers special courses, pre-academy training, and career development programs. One deputy was injured, taken to a hospital, and as we've been telling you earlier, federal agents are working to get more information We continue to see this response here. I want to see if I can grab this gentleman here. You live or work in the area?
Was that?
Do you live or work in the area, sir? Oh, okay, got it. Okay, so yeah, we've got more people coming out here just to take a look at the activity, exactly what's going on. We're working to gather, of course, more information, but that tragic news confirmed just a short time ago. 3 people were killed in this incident, and we know 1 was taken to the hospital. And as we see more ambulance vehicles, those first responders here as well, we wonder if there were any other injuries and the severity of those injuries. But yeah, what appears to be a horrific accident here at this East LA Trading Center early this morning.
I know they put up a perimeter, Mario, so you're some ways away from where it actually happened. So obviously they need that space and time for this investigation to be conducted. Thank you, Mario, for that. And as we look at aerial view, just to show you how big this facility is, and the academy is right there, this explosion taking place just outside one of those buildings. As Mario's mentioning, a lot of people didn't hear an explosion or see anything. We are getting some updates from people in and around the area. I got a message from somebody who was at Cal State LA, which is just half a mile away from that training facility. When this explosion happened, they didn't hear or see anything at that point. Again, just half a mile away. So when you think of explosions, as you were mentioning, Araxia, you think of something that is very notable and significant, but clearly the proximity of the sheriff deputies obviously involved in this must have been so close to this explosion that went off. But yeah, you're seeing the aerial shots, excuse me, of where the explosion happened, just 25 yards away or so from the actual buildings themselves of that training facility. So as Mario was mentioning, this is the place where the special law enforcement units train. That includes the bomb squad, hazmat, you name it. The specialized units of the Sheriff's Department come here to train, and they deal with all kinds of material, as we know, and sometimes very dangerous material at that. So again, just showing you this live look, actually, yes, of this aerial view of the training facility, quite large, perched up on top right there of that hill, and the surrounding neighborhood not in jeopardy, not in danger, never has been in danger for this incident. So that is certainly the good thing, that hopefully they have maintained a measure of safety, because I know right after the explosion they evacuated the building to make sure that no other hazardous material or any other types of explosives were in the way.
Stu, you're up in Skyfox now with the crew. We appreciate you giving us this look right here, because it gives us a better sense of what we are dealing with and looking at. So if we can widen out, show just how large this training facility is. And then I don't know if you're able to, but maybe you could also show us where Mario and his photographer are, just so we get a sense of how close they are, how close people can be. There on your screen, you see the aerial shots of Skyfox on the bigger monitor on the right-hand side. On the smaller side, on the left-hand side, that is our camera there where Mario is located. We're just getting an idea of where exactly this is. And again, the best news perhaps to come out of this is that no one else is in danger at this time as far as homes or surrounding businesses.
Well, definitely give you an aerial tour and get you as much information as you can. I'm not exactly sure where Mario is on the ground down there, but this is the actual area where that explosion happened. I'm being very, very careful not to show those covered bodies and what was going on, but I can tell you that that fire truck is very close to the location where that explosion happened. It's actually behind those white tarps right there. You were asking about the wider, let's do an aerial view of what's going on. That's actually going to be the Sheriff's landing pad. Air Rescue 5 lands there for training, and also their A-Star helicopters that do patrol. All of that area, that's what I was trying to explain to you earlier on, is owned by LA County, and this is the area that they use for training. I mentioned that there's an area nearby where they do the repairs of all of their fire trucks, other county vehicles, and then of course the sheriff's department. That is this area right here. As I get a little bit wider, I can show you right there. That's going to be the 710 freeway. So this is going to be very close to, like I said, where the 710 and the 10 freeway meet. It's up on a hillside, and then you also have other buildings in the area as well. This is actually the area that back in the day when I started news in the 90s, this wasn't SEB. SEB was actually closer to the 10 freeway that you see on the top of the screen right there. If you kind of look right through those buildings and you see some neighborhoods, that's going to be right, it's east, this is actually East LA Monterey Park. There's a dividing line. Don't know exactly where it is, but my machines up here tell me that this is Monterey Park on this side of the hill. But this gives you an idea where that explosion happened. And of course, when they do this planning, when they're coming up with ideas, where are we going to do explosive training? Believe me, this is something that, you know, the safety of the public is definitely on their checklist. And that might be one of the reasons why it is so well in middle of this very county area up here. Sheriff's Department, basically the hutch out here in this area. That road that you see right there, I believe that is going to be Eastern. Let me double check. Actually, they just called it's called Sheriff Road is actually what it's called. It doesn't actually have a name, but so this is going to be a road that is exclusively just gets you into this training area. LA County Fire, this is going to be their training facility up there. So you have an idea that the public is, you know, of course they're always welcome out here, but they are far from this area, and primarily is for safety. Again, I have to be very careful because we are allowed a little bit closer, and I don't want to show anything on television that we would be upset about later on. But you can see what I was talking about. This is an area where they have all of their armored vehicles parked down there. Those are the Bearcats. That's what SWAT, their version of SWAT, uses in this area. You have the LA County Fire Department. They're still here on scene. And this is the general epicenter where all this happened. I'll try to push in a little bit more later on when we're not live, because we want to look in that area. Like you said, there might be some vehicles with some broken windows, little pieces that will help us put together exactly what happened down there. But right now, I don't want to do this live. I do not want to be disrespectful for any of the families, and I don't want to put anything on the air that might be disturbing to some folks. That vehicle right there, that's going to be one of their mobile headquarters. That I don't think that was there earlier on, so they might have brought that in. We were showing pictures earlier of the LAPD bomb squad. They're still in that same location. You can see a couple of their vehicles right there. The deputies that are in this area right now, this is going to be treated just like any other crime scene. So anybody that's non-essential, they probably have asked to leave. They've told, like you said, they've closed the facility down for the daily routine. But of course, only people that are left in this area are going to be essential personnel. They got a little Skyfox skid in there. But you can see the buzz of activity. This is definitely still a very active scene. Nobody has actually really approached the area where that tragedy happened. It is still cordoned off. We don't see any activity over there at all. And that gives you, even though they said it is safe for the public, that still gives you an idea that, you know, either it's a crime scene where they do not want to disturb any evidence, or the fact that there might still be some sort of live ordinance over there. Either or, they're not allowing even their personnel to make an approach to that actual location. Again, I'm not sure exactly where Mario is, but I would venture to say, just because of safety, the fact that this is involving the loss of life with deputies, they're going to keep everybody as far away as possible. And again, this is going to be more of a wider shot. I'll get out of that doubler and it gives you an idea where all of this is. You know what? I can do something else for you guys here before I throw it back to you. I can bring up the map. Let me get rid of some of the noise on there, and it can give you an idea exactly what we're looking at out there. And so you see the 710, you see the 10 freeway, and you get an idea what I said. It's like right in that little armpit of those two freeways. It is far from any homes. Any of the homes would be on the other side of that hill and on the lower side as well. So, and that would be East Los Angeles. So we're right on the border. But again, this gives you an idea where where the facility is, where this tragic event happened. And of course, this is an area that is very locked down right now. You even mentioned that FBI is showing up. That's probably because it was an explosive device. But at any rate, tragedy really striking the Sheriff's Department out here in the Los Angeles area. Throwing it back to you guys.
Well, certainly all of our hearts are heavy this morning. I believe, Stu, thank you. That really helped actually paint a picture of what we're looking at and how close everything is to one another, and the freeways really painted a picture of this facility. So thank you for that. We are going to go back on the ground. We can keep your aerial shot up as we do so, though, and speak with Mario, because I believe you had a chance to speak with a county worker. Is that right?
Yeah, earlier we were talking to some of the businesses out here, some of the employees that were inside of their buildings when this explosion went off. And I want to bring in Sergio. He's an LA County worker with the Internal Services Department. Is that right, Sergio?
Yes, sir.
Let me bring you in here. So walk me through. You came out here early this morning. You're very familiar with the site. Yeah. You oftentimes work in the area. What can you tell us about this area and that facility?
Well, this facility, mainly it's the Sheriff's Department that takes care of it. There's a couple facilities they have up there. So basically, I got here a little bit later after the explosion, but some of my coworkers were here, and they just happened to hear a loud explosion inside their facility, which is kind of unusual, because usually you hear, training, you hear the shots. There's a training facility, and it's pretty normal. But to hear an explosion like that, and I know some of the guys told me they went out and they seen sheriff deputies, and the sheriffs asked them to stay back, and yeah, it's just a pretty sad morning for sure.
And from what we understand, that explosion may have happened outside of any building, and maybe near a car, an SUV, a police vehicle. We saw some with blown out windows. Do you know anything?
Tells me that the group that was training at the time, and I want to make sure that we get this one right. Let's pull up those notes that I have for you. This is a specialized team that was training at the time of the explosion, the Arson and Explosive Detail Group. That is the group that was training at the time. We're working to gather more details for you. We did talk with the public information officer, who says this is the designated staging area. As soon as they're able to give us more information, confirmed information, they'll be bringing it to us right here. And of course, we'll bring it to you live as well. Adrienne, Lynette.
Thank you for that, Lauren. Yeah, we were told that the firefighters in the station nearby felt that explosion at 7:27, and then they self-responded across the street to help. It was during a shift change, but they did feel that. So certainly any residents in the area must have felt it as well, and must have heard all of the emergency personnel responding to the scene. We are going to go back now to Julia Dang, who is overhead in Boyle Heights at the hospital nearby, where we believe, but are only assuming at this point, that some of the injured may have been taken to that hospital. Julia.
That's right, Lynette. We don't have that confirmed, but that's what we're hearing. And based on what we're seeing on the ground, you can see these two deputies standing outside the parking lot where patients are brought in by ambulance. It appears to us patients may have been transported here. You can see the deputies' vehicles as well. And Lynette, as you talk about this emergency that was happened 2 hours ago, you got to think about the silver lining to the fact that the LA County Fire Department is headquartered so close to where this happened, and firefighters were able to respond on their own without waiting for any kind of 911 call. So it's probably thanks to that quick response that we have 3 fatalities and not 4. But we did confirm that 4th person, the patient who was injured, was critically hurt. So the transport that we saw happen earlier, the person who was taken out of the back of the ambulance, we thought was connected to this incident. You saw that person. It looked like a woman. She was conscious. She was sitting up in a wheelchair. She was not flat on her back on a stretcher. So again, we don't know for sure if that was the critically injured victim. But as deputies continue standing by out here, trading notes, talking on the phone, and more authorities show up, we just have more and more questions about what that person's condition is now, what kind of treatment they need. But we're going to continue keeping eyes on LA General Medical Hospital, just a couple miles from where the explosion happened.
Okay, so Julia, thank you for that. Again, Julia at the hospital there. Again, that's just a few miles away from the LASD training facility where this explosion happened. We want to show you a map to give you an idea of exactly where this is happening here. So the training academy is right off the 710 between the 10 and the 60. It's in the City Terrace area to the west, and then just to the east of it would be Maravilla. So that gives you an idea of where it is. It's near the Monterey Park Golf Club and just south of California State University, the Los Angeles campus there. So it is a sprawling facility. If you, I'm sure, Lynette, that you've been there before covering stories, but it is a massive facility. And again, we know that the incident that happened today is specifically in a parking lot, as Lauren Coronado just pointed out, just learned a short time ago. It specifically involved the arson and explosives detail.
So you can see from this map that there's quite a large parking lot, several buildings, all part of this campus. So it definitely is a vast area now, all part of this investigation. We're going to go right now again to Lauren Coronado, NBC4's Lauren Coronado, who is on the ground. Lauren, talk to us about how difficult it was for you to get on scene. You were coming from another story to cover that and were diverted to this. How hard was it for you to get there?
Lynette, Adrian, it was a little tough. We mapped ourselves, and right away it started rerouting me. I realized, okay, there is a large portion of the area that's blocked off for this investigation. We cover a lot of crime, and that's often the case. You map yourself somewhere.
These things happen. So right now, these things happen, and thank God they don't happen very often. That, I mean, when your law enforcement are training to protect you, the public, even those training situations are not safe. I mean, they're putting themselves in the line of fire literally every day, in multiple different types of situations. So we just need to make sure, again, when they look at this, there's going to be a very extensive debrief and making sure that procedures are in place so that this can't happen again.
How does this end up impacting, other people at the training facility? I have to imagine, as we said, this is pretty rare that this has occurred right now. But now that this has taken place and there are 3 deputies who have died, can you speak to kind of the psychological impact to the rest of the facility, which is a very large facility?
Yeah, it's a tremendous blow, especially in those training facilities. These are people you're working with every day. I worked in the training facility with my department, and so these are your family. You see them every day, and when you lose someone like that, it's sudden and it's heartbreaking. It disturbs you to the core, and every police officer, every sheriff's deputy is going to be feeling this, and especially, one life is one too many, but 3. Yeah, it's hard to wrap your brain around the emotional toll that this is going to have for the people who work in that facility, who work with those great people every day. And then just by and large, you just, as a law enforcement officer, and you put on your uniform every day, you just remind yourself that, like, wow, like, not every day is guaranteed for you when you go out and you do that job.
And an important reminder today for the public that is what our sheriff's deputies and law enforcement are doing for us. Clay, we appreciate your insight so much as we follow what's happening, this tragic incident this morning where 3 sheriff's deputies lost their lives. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you. God bless those guys.
Yes, absolutely, and their families. Let's go ahead and get a check now with Mark Liu. Mark, what new information have you learned?
Well, SkyCal is now back overhead. They have completed their refueling mission at Van Nuys Airport and arrived overhead. And now what we are seeing here at the center of your screen is certainly a member of one of the bomb disposal technicians, one of the bomb disposal teams that is here. This is one of the technicians. They are approaching what I did suspect to be the focal point of this explosion, and it's this large box truck that is here. Now, SkyCal had made several orbits before, and I just spoke with a member of the crew of SkyCal, and unfortunately, there are bodies there on the ground. They do appear to be covered, but we're going to not show you that right now because it is a pretty gruesome scene down there of those 3 bodies. And one thing that I wanted to note is when we looked at the video, it appears that these bodies at points appear to be more than 20 feet from each other.
Oh my goodness.
So this explosion,
this was a huge explosion,
was significant enough that it appears that they were thrown quite a distance from where they were standing. These 3 bodies are not near each other. 2 of them are. They appear to be approximately 10 to 15 feet away from the right side of that van, but a third looks to be almost 25 or perhaps 30 feet away from that van. on the opposite side. They're on the opposite side of that van from the perspective that you see now. And we saw that bomb tech in that full armor, that full body armor that is so unique to bomb disposal teams, going in behind that van. Now, that van appears to have side doors that open away from where we are looking. They open on what would be the passenger's side of the van. That cargo area has swing doors that open, and they do appear to be open. So it appears that the way to access that box truck would be to go in from those side doors. So it could be what that bomb tech is now looking at, to look inside there. We also did see a very emotional moment just a few moments ago when members of the LA County Sheriff's Department embraced each other as they approached this scene. So they are going through, of course, the heartbreaking loss of knowing that 3 of their co-workers and their team members have now died in this accident. Again, these appear to be members of that were training with the SEB facility here. That's the Sheriff's Enforcement Bureau. That's LA County Sheriff's version of SWAT, as you would know it, more commonly known as SWAT in other cities, including the LAPD. It's a very specialized and elite unit within any law enforcement department, and certainly the members of SEB at LA County Sheriffs are among the most elite law enforcement in Southern California. But tragically, 3 deputies died here. They are sworn deputies. These weren't civilians, from what we understand from the statement we have from the public information officer at the scene, told our reporter Jeff Nguyen that they were sworn deputies, and they are essentially behind that white van that you see there on the ground. So we now know that a bomb tech is now investigating the focal point of that explosion right there. We don't know what agency that bomb tech is from. We know the FBI is there, and certainly LA County sheriffs have their own. And there's also allied agencies that may be assisting, but they are conducting their work there in their parking lot at the training facility here at the 710 and the 10 in East LA. It's called the Biscaylas Training Center for LA County Sheriff's Deputies.
Yeah, U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi just said that ATF will also be involved in this situation as well, Mark. So as you said, we don't know which agency is in particular investigating at this point, but what you said, seeing some of the images of other personnel now come up and likely learning the names of their co-workers at this point in time at the training facility. We don't have that information yet. It's going to take some time to notify, next of kin and let people know exactly what transpired here. But you have to think about that. You always talk about in law enforcement, it's a brotherhood, sisterhood, and as we just talked to our last interview, it's just going to be devastating for this training facility to have something of this magnitude happen, as he described in other incidents. While tragic, maybe one person dies, to hear that 3 have died at this particular training facility will be a really big gut punch to this group.
Absolutely, and it's just a reminder of the dangerous, of course, training that they do at facilities like these and that our law enforcement take part in to keep us safe. So it is a very sad morning here as this investigation continues to unfold. We have been getting word from officials, local and federal, this morning. U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi has commented on the situation. Here's what she said on the screen. She says she spoke with Sheriff Robert Luna. We have FBI and ATF agents on the ground to support. Please pray for the entire Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department.
We also have been getting statements from local leaders as well, including LA Mayor Karen Bass, which reads, the city of LA is supporting the LA County Sheriff's Department through this horrific incident in Monterey Park. LAFD, ATF, arson investigators, and members of the LAPD bomb squad are assisting at the training facility. The thoughts of all Angelenos are with all of those impacted by this blast.
And LA County Supervisor Catherine Barger just issued the following statement as well, saying, I'm heartbroken to hear of the terrible tragedy that unfolded today at the LA County Sheriff's Department facility. I'm closely tracking the situation as we learn more about what occurred and the condition of those affected. She continues saying, my heart is heavy and my thoughts are with the brave men and women of the Sheriff's Department during this difficult time. We stand with them and their families as they navigate the hours and days ahead.
Of course, we've had many conversations with Supervisor Barger over the last several months with everything happening here in Los Angeles. Supervisor Hilda Solis just released this statement. I am deeply saddened by the tragic incident that occurred this morning at the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department training facility in East Los Angeles. My heart goes out to the families, friends, and colleagues of the 3 individuals who lost their lives in what appears to have been a devastating explosion. Now here's a post from Alex Villanova. He's the former LA County Sheriff who ran the department from 2018 to 2022. He's saying, quote, prayers for the 3 sheriff's deputies killed, their families, co-workers, and all those affected by the tragedy at the training center in East Los Angeles.
All right, we do have crews on the scene. Our Rick Montanez is nearby the facility. Let's get back out to him. I know you've been speaking with people who heard that loud explosion more than 2 hours ago now. Rick, what's the latest from where you are?
Sheba, the road's still closed here. We're still seeing emergency responders heading up into the facility. We're also seeing some people leave the area. And then, you know, people are trying to figure out what exactly is going on. They're stopping here at this road closure to ask questions. There are neighborhoods on the other side of this closure, so some people are trying to figure out if they can get home. One man was telling me his grandmother usually takes the bus through this way to get home, so he was concerned. Of course, there hopefully will be some detours in the area, but people are still just trying to figure out what's going on. Of course, with this large-scale investigation and potential for any more danger at this facility, certainly they are keeping people away. They're even keeping us news crews away when a lot of times we do get special access to get closer to certain situations. But when it is a matter of safety, we certainly stay further back, which is what's happening here. So you see some of the sheriff's deputies who are doing their work trying to talk to people who are trying to get through here. It's got to be difficult for them because, again, as we know, 3 sheriff's deputies lost their lives, and these other deputies are still here serving the community, doing their jobs.
Yeah, I also want to bring up earlier the man you were speaking with who worked nearby in the area, and he was saying he hears noises from this facility all the time, which is just a reminder that people in this area are used to the facility being there. They're hearing noises, and they said that this loud explosion this morning just before 7:30 immediately felt different to them, Rick.
Yeah, Sheba, this is this entire complex, as we've been talking about, there's a lot of different county departments that work there. And so the man I was talking to earlier works nearby, and he says that for the last 20 years that he's been out here, off and on, he's heard training, and he can tell what the training sounds like. His coworkers who heard the explosion this morning say that this, they immediately knew was something different. And when they went outside, they could see all these other sheriff's deputies. They could see the fire department rushing in to go try and help as much as they can. And so his coworkers knew immediately that this was something certainly much more extraordinary than they're used to hearing. But regularly they hear that training there. They hear some of those explosions or things like that. I know you were talking with people earlier, interviewing others who have more expertise in this type of thing, but where they, you know, want to make a real world training experience. And I've got to say, Sheba, I've interviewed and talked with several members of the SEB over my 10 years here covering news in Los Angeles, even the head of the department who I remember not long ago telling me just how specialized these crews are. I mean, these are the guys, the men and women who will go out and do helicopter rescues. They will go out and respond to situations, standoffs, and the most dangerous situations that can happen in our county. They are trained, highly elite, trained crews that will go out and do this. And so there is training that happens at this facility as well. So you've got to wonder what exactly went wrong to cause something on this scale, this tragic, for the LA County Sheriff's Department.
I know, it's almost as if when you think about the specialized training, how hard this is all the time. The fact that this is something that doesn't happen very often. These men and women are so specialized and so good at what they do, and we don't know exactly what took place today, what caused the blast itself. But Mark Liu was just telling us while we were in Rick's live shot there that it does appear that doors are open on a bomb squad truck from what you can see from SkyCal, Mark.
Yeah, so what we're looking at is live pictures here from SkyCal over the training facility there in East LA, the Vasquez Training Center. And SkyCal is going to stay wide with this zoom here because, unfortunately, the bodies of these 3 deputies are still down there. They are covered, but it is a pretty gruesome scene, so we don't want to zoom in too closely. But what SkyCal is doing, the crew there is showing that bomb squad technician there with that full armor is now returning from interacting with that white truck and getting a look at that general scene where the explosion took place. Now, SkyCal was able to do the best zoom possible they could on the side of that white truck that appears to be the focus of this investigation. And it does very clearly say LA County Sheriff's Bomb Squad on the side. There are several other large trucks down there. One of them says hazmat. Another one is a mobile command post. Those do not appear to be involved in any way. The focus is entirely on that large white box truck there that says Bomb Squad. It has doors on the cargo side.
Some type of explosion at the training facility, 3 dead sheriff's deputies, 1 other injured. What's your reaction to hear about that happening so close to your grandmother's house?
Well, you know, it's sad to hear that anybody passes, and whoever did pass, go to their family and their loved ones. I'm trying to get to my loved one, so yeah, it just sucks that, you know, they don't let residents home.
And can you tell us a little bit about the area where that house is? I mean, how many people are in that immediate area? Is it heavily populated where
the hill's not very populated. It's kind of, if you know family and friends there, that's it. People don't really go up there, but it's just something sad to hear about, unfortunately, for these sheriffs.
All right, Michael, thank you so much. Sorry to hear about your grandmother, but we'll let you go so you can get back there. Appreciate it. So, yeah, you're looking at this closure at Eastern and Mariana. We've been talking to businesses here in the area, Tinco metal sheet contractor, as well as a plastics company across the street. And they tell me between the two, they've got about 150 workers, 100 at the contractor, the metal sheet company, 50 at the other, and they didn't hear any type of explosion. They came out after hearing all of the emergency crews, didn't see any smoke, but that's when they started learning about this horrific tragedy here at this training center, the Biscaloo Academy Training Center, where this all unfolded early this morning. So developing situation, but as you heard, that resident we were talking to, trying to get up the road with some emotions, speaking about the urgency that, you know, he's really trying to get back to his grandmother as this tragedy unfolded right down the street from where she lives. Sandra and Araxia.
Tense situation all around for community members, obviously disrupting normal lives, but obviously such a tragedy happening here at this facility. You could just understand the gravity of all of this. And thankfully, when we're looking at Stu's shot from Sky Fox, that this one sole member of a bomb squad checking out the situation where this explosion happened at 7:30 was safe and backed up from the location of those vehicles, and that he had plenty of backup and support in that parking lot from fellow law enforcement officials. Let's go up to Stu again to tell us what you're looking at now.
It looks like a shattered window there. Is that right?
That is exactly what it is. We were hearing reports that there was an SUV nearby, and a deputy's SUV with a busted window, and that is it. Now, I got to be very careful with these shots because, like I said, I do not want to show anything that we don't want to show, and where we are, we can. So the incident happened somewhere in the center of that screen, of the shot right there, and so this was near that blast area. That bomb squad tech that we saw making his way out, walking over here, he's going to start passing along the information on what he saw. And one of those things is, again, with the bomb squad, they are very secretive about what they do, how they train, and what they actually are doing when they're out there. I don't think I'm telling any tales out of school, but when he was walking around like that and doing those side steps, there's a good possibility they were taking photos so that they could put together a 360 view and kind of look at it later on, before they make their way in there. Like right now, probably downloading those photos to kind of get an idea of exactly, of everything that they are seeing in that area, to see if that device might still be there, or if it is been detonated, if there's another one, all those things. So that was probably what was going on with that deputy and that officer in the bomb squad uniform. Again, though, he did make his way out safely, and he went over in this area right here. We do see, I call them, and everybody else does too, we call them a bunch of suits down there. Those are clearly going to be detectives. That's going to be the upper echelon, gathering information, figuring out, basically running the show, keeping track of everything that's going on as well, because believe me, there's going to be a lot of questions. There's going to be a lot of people that have to answer questions, and these are the gentlemen that will have that information, or will be able to say, we did this at this time. This is what we found out now. And that's exactly what's going on. A very meticulous documentation of everything that is happening down there. So they are going to be very busy out here for a very, very long time. And again, this happening, like you said, it's at the training facility. And if you're just tuning in, 3 deputies losing their lives out here this morning in a training, what we believe is a training exercise. We don't even really know. There might have just been something going on near the bomb squad truck, and this tragic event happened. But we can tell you that they have basically evacuated the Biscaloo area. Any non-essential personnel, meaning everybody that we see down here is here for a reason. They have a job to do inside this crime scene, whatever that might be. You see smaller command posts right there. You can see some of the deputies working behind one of the vehicles. And again, they have a lot of evidence that they have to go through. They have a lot of things that they have to look at right now to make their way into that area to safely start that investigation by those vehicles. And then, of course, the tragic, the sad fact that they have to retrieve the bodies of those 3 deputies. And this is a very, very heartfelt for everybody involved down there. And I can tell you that they're going to be very meticulous. Sending it back to you.
Absolutely, Stu. All right, let's go to Gina Silva, who's live on the phone right now with more information. Gina?
Yes, good morning, everyone. I received a call early this morning from a source who told me that the 3 deputies had been killed in an explosion at the LA County Sheriff's Department training facility, and I was told it happened around 7:30. Understandably, everyone is absolutely devastated. These were law enforcement professionals who were working in one of the most dangerous units, handling explosives as part of their regular training. And it's just absolutely shocking that it happened at a facility that's supposed to be highly controlled. Obviously, that just adds to the mystery of what went wrong. Now, I've been told that the Sheriff's Department is working right now with federal agencies, FBI, ATF, Homeland Security, to figure out exactly what happened, what went wrong. From what I understand, it happened during the movement or handling of materials. So they were moving from one place to another, and that's possibly when it exploded and the 3 deputies were killed. I mean, it's just a very tragic day for the department and for the law enforcement community in Los Angeles. As you know, it's a very tight-knit community. And the people that work for this unit, I mean, they're veterans. They've been around for a long time. They're seasoned. At the very minimum, they have 5 to 7 years of patrol and field duty before they can make it onto a unit like this. So they are experienced. And the fact that this happened, it's just shocking to the public. It's shocking even to law enforcement. So what exactly happened, no one knows. But I can tell you that the department is grieving, and everyone's just really sad.
Gina, do you know from your sources and the people you've talked to how many deputies, bomb techs were involved in this operation? Because we do know of the 3 fatalities, tragically, and 1 other person injured. But in terms of when they do something like this, transport a hazardous bomb, how many people are involved in an operation like this? Are there any backups? What was the situation as it was playing out? Do you know any of that?
No, I don't. I just have the information that I just provided. I was just told that 3 deputies who were involved in the movement of the materials were the ones that were killed, and another person was transported to the hospital. Originally, I was given a higher number, but then I was told that was incorrect, that it was just the 3 and the 1 person taken to the hospital. I don't know exactly how many people are involved in this kind of situation, but it doesn't sound like they were actually doing any training at the time. It sounds like they were just moving materials from one place to another, and that's when they went off.
Yeah, it is
Of course, all of this is going to be investigated. Everything is fluid. I mean, these are sources that are giving this information, but everything could change, as you know. They'll be holding a news conference shortly, hopefully, to shed light on exactly what they think went wrong.
Yeah, it's going to take some time, and I know as far as family members and friends, they need to be notified, and the Sheriff's Department needs to notify all of their personnel, and the community, of course, has anxiety, but they can be rest assured that it doesn't seem as though there's any danger to the surrounding areas, so that is not something that anyone needs to be worried about. At this point, it's just a tragedy, and getting more information is going to take some time, so we just have to be patient for that. It does take time to get all of the facts in order.
Yes, absolutely.
Gina, thank you. Appreciate you joining us over the phone. Nice talking to you. It's been a while since we had you on the show. Sadly, it's due to tragic circumstance. As we have our next guest join us over Zoom here, I would just like to set the scene because it is 10:01 right now, right here on Good Day LA. An explosion at Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department training facility has taken the lives of 3 deputies. 1 person has been transported to the hospital. This happened at a training facility, the Biscaynes Academy Center training facility in East Los Angeles. This is near the 710 and 10 freeway where they meet there on a hillside. This explosion occurred near a bomb squad vehicle. We don't know the details of how many individuals were taking part in this training facility and what exactly happened. Possibly they were handling some kind of explosive device. That image right there that you're seeing, that is actually where it happened. We're being very careful up in Skyfox not to show the bodies of those individuals who are still there on the scene. So it is a tough news morning, definitely, that's for sure. Right now, we'd like to welcome national security expert Hal Kempfer with us. He is joining us over Zoom. Sir, thank you so much for being with us. Please react to what you're seeing and the information we have so far.
Well, I've worked with LA County sheriffs going back over 3 decades, and I've actually been up to that facility more than once. The former commander there was a good friend of mine, and it's just a horrific thing to see. Obviously the sheriffs across the the current, the retired workforce, everybody is just a bit really in shock. SEB, Special Enforcement Bureau, they are probably one of the best trained, most professional special operations law enforcement organizations in the country and the world. So for something like this to happen, they're going to be looking at this very closely and trying to figure out what exactly occurred. I will say I've done a lot of work with demolitions training, tactical demolitions training. It doesn't sound, from what I've heard so far, that this was a training accident per se. I'm sure we'll find out more about that as more information comes out. It sounds like they were simply transporting explosive materials, and it kind of makes me wonder what type of explosive materials, but I don't know. C4 is one of the things that's often used. It tends to be rather stable, and it takes a little bit of work to set off C4. So I'm kind of thinking maybe it wasn't that. Might have been something else. A variety of possibilities come to mind. But we'll find out. And the fact that there were 4 deputies that were, in the area, 3 of them tragically lost their lives. 1, is in the hospital. It just tells me that that probably they were transporting or storing something, and something just went horribly wrong. And frankly, things do go wrong with demolitions. You take a lot of precautions and everything, but it's a dangerous work, dangerous training, dangerous business. And sometimes accidents do occur.
Yeah, absolutely. A very tragic accident this morning. Hal, do you know, with all your expertise, when they are transporting something like this, because as we understand, this was a transport of a hazardous explosive, as we know right now, how many people are involved in a situation like this? Because there are protocols that have to be followed when transporting this type of material, whether it's C4 or something else. They kind of assess that right before handling the material. It could be anything. And then is there backup? Are there safety measures? What can you tell us in terms of the protocol?
Well, I don't know specifically if they have a hard rule on how many people have to be there. It would make sense that you'd have a driver and an assistant driver in a vehicle moving this, but because it is dangerous explosives, there may have been a couple of other deputies assigned to provide security in case anything happened along the way. And that might explain why you have 4 deputies involved. A driver, an assistant driver, and that's for safety things. The driver sees things, but the assistant driver is an extra pair of eyes. And obviously with something like, if you're moving a load like this, you absolutely want to be extremely cautious about what you're doing. So you need that extra set of eyes. But then, of course, if anybody from the outside had knowledge that this was a load of explosives being moved, obviously that would make it a potential target for pilferage or worse. So you'd probably want some security with you as well. On the other hand, it could have been that they were moving to a range or something like that, or moving to another facility, and it just happened that there were 4 deputies total because of whatever they were planning to do, and that sounds like a potential team that could be used for training or something like that. So there's just a lot of different possibilities as to why there were 4 deputies there. I don't recall, and I have to tell you, I just don't know what the specific protocols are for the amount of explosives that they're moving. I think it really depends on the amount of explosives they're moving. If you're moving, a few flashbangs, you're not going to have, 4 deputies needed for that. But if you're moving a larger load of explosives, and it could be explosives that were tied to evidence, this could be part of a seizure. And that would make sense to me if it was part of a seizure, because a lot of times when you recover explosives from a crime scene or something, they're not necessarily in as good a shape as the stuff that you would normally use. They may be less stable. They may be old. There may be a lot of problems. So it could have been an evidence thing as well.
Is there any scenario where they perhaps might not have known it was explosive or active?
I would find that rather improbable, if not impossible.
Okay.
SCB, they know what they do, and the idea that there would be explosives in the vehicle or in or around the vehicle that they wouldn't know about seems unusual. Now, if, and this is really improbable, but, if this was something where they were, someone had secretly planted explosives, that would be a different situation. But I haven't heard anything even close to that. It sounds like they were just simply moving, explosive material, and it sounds like a tragic accident. I haven't heard anything. It sounds like they pretty much ruled out anything nefarious with this. Right. I haven't heard anything like that. So that's all I can think is they were moving explosive material and something went horribly wrong. And by the way, things just sometimes go horribly wrong with explosive materials. There's all sorts of things that can happen that would accidentally set it off. There was a Marine that I worked with in a special operations unit, and the manufacturer had messed up had messed up some flashbangs. So instead of pulling the fuse and having a few seconds, it literally went off in his hand, and he almost lost his hand. And things like that can happen due to no fault of the tactical personnel involved. Sometimes there's a problem with the explosives. Sometimes there may be a manufacturer defect. There's a lot of different possibilities that come to mind.
Yeah, that's actually a really important point that you make, because sometimes, no matter the level of training and the safety precautions that take place when dealing with things like an explosive, it is risky, it's unpredictable. There's no way to guarantee it's going to be safe.
Well, you take a lot of precautions. Trust me, there are things you do. There are long lists of procedures, checklists, if you will, to make sure that you take everything into account, how you store it, how it's placed in the vehicle, everything around it. All of this is a checklist thing. And I'm sure that when they're investigating, they're going to find out. And it sometimes happens. Sometimes, inadvertently, they will forget to do something on the checklist. Sometimes something could get added to the load that they hadn't quite accounted for. that could cause some sort of transient, transient spark or something like that, something that could possibly set it off. Again, I kind of wonder, though, if this was evidence of explosives, if this had been gathered from something, whatever it is. I don't know, could be fireworks or anything like that. They tend to be far less stable than the explosives that are used in training. And that's where I'm kind of wondering if maybe there was some sort of evidence of from perhaps something they recovered from a scene, a crime scene, or or something where they recovered some other explosives like fireworks or something like that. And that would kind of go far to explain how something like this could occur.
Talk about the unit itself, these bomb techs who work day in and day out with each other. We saw one lone bomb tech approaching the scene of detonation to investigate what exactly happened this morning. And it's so eerie to see, but at the same time, you're trusting each other with your life. And for these bomb techs to be working together and highly trained. Obviously, it's a close-knit community. You only wonder when that single bomb tech was approaching the scene after this terrible accident, what was going through his mind, because I'm sure they have all worked together, know each other. This is such a highly specialized unit.
They do. Everybody up there knows each other, and of course, they're feeling the sense of loss, but the other side is that they are dedicated professionals. And they are their minds are steeled to do the mission, to basically do the task, do the mission, and move forward. That's just the way they are. That's the way they're mentally conditioned with that sort of really focused purpose to to make that happen. And so he's going up there, but I should mention, normally they would have deployed a bomb robot that would have surveilled the area, and that robot would have actually taken a look around, and then he's probably going in just to make sure that there's nothing else there. That's the thing, is when these things explode, they don't necessarily, not all the explosives there will necessarily detonate all at once. It is not uncommon that you'll have an explosion, and then you'll go around and you'll find pieces of explosives all over the place. And so those have to be identified. They have to be secured. Have to make sure there's no threat from those. So that's part of what's going through his mind is, obviously surveilling the entire scene, but also looking for any, extraneous or transient explosives or explosive devices that may be in the area that haven't been dealt with yet.
Sir, thank you so much. We really appreciate your time and your perspective and your insight in helping us understand what happened here. Hal Kemper, a national security expert, joining us this morning over Zoom. Now we are going to join LA County Supervisor Catherine Barger as well on the phone. Good morning to you. Tough to say good morning. It's a tough morning, that's for sure. I know you put out a statement, just really heartbroken this morning.
I am heartbroken. I mean, this tragic explosion at the Biscayne Training Center in East LA is just, when I got the notice, I couldn't believe it. And my deepest condolences are really with the families of the 3 deputies who lost their lives, and with the entire department, because these 3 deputies were well known in not only the area as it relates to the bomb squad, but also on patrol. And many are devastated. I talked to a deputy today who was telling me what amazing, amazing individuals they are.
Oh, do you have any other information, Supervisor, that can shed light on what exactly happened and why? We're just trying to piece this all together, obviously, as the department and the community grieves over this tragic accident.
Yeah, I'm waiting for Sheriff Luna to confirm. I know early on there was speculation that this may have been a terrorist, attack, but my understanding is it was a tragic accident. But I'm waiting for that confirmation. I want to thank our LA County Fire Department as well as the deputies and federal partners, the FBI, that have actually secured the scene and provided immediate support at this location. And I think it's important to note that that there's going to be a full investigation done to find out what happened. And I think everyone wants answers, and I'm confident that Sheriff Luna will provide that at a press briefing, I hope, in the not-so-distant future.
Yes, the LAFD confirming it is being investigated as a preliminary training accident. Just makes it all the more tragic because this academy, of course, it's a controlled setting. They're highly trained, and it's just obviously a tragedy that occurred. And before we let you go, if you can just speak to the fact that during times of tragedies like this, the importance of different departments and the community coming together to work not only to support one another, but to also help in this investigation.
100%. I mean, that's why I bring up the FBI, who will be working and coordinating the investigation, I'm sure. But it's important for everyone to recognize. I mean, this has been a tough couple of weeks for law enforcement, and this just reminds us that this job, these three individuals left to come to work, said goodbye to their family, thinking they were going to come home tonight. And my heart breaks not only, again, for the families, but also the entire LASD family, because this is just a reminder of the tough jobs that they have, but also how important it is for us to really support our first responders as it relates to the job they do each and every day to keep us safe.
Supervisor Catherine Barger, thank you so much. We know how busy you are this morning for joining us over the phone. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, as we continue to look at these aerial shots, let's go back up to Stu in Sky Fox with what we're seeing right now. Stu.
What you're seeing right there is another one of the bomb squad techs out there with some of their specialized equipment. Clearly, they want to make sure that that area is completely safe before they do anything or make an approach. I did find something a little bit interesting that we can show you before we do a setup and talk about everything that we have been watching out here and give you a wide shot. You can see that broken window right there, and then you can also see what appears to be a backpack right there as well. Now, again, we are basically playing CSI from 5,500 feet above the area right now. And so we would venture to say, because no other windows are broken down there, that backpack or whatever that item is on the ground there in the center of the screen may have been some sort of projectile when that explosion happened. I got to be very careful right now because we have been looking at these locations a couple of times, and we know that those deputies are right there near that shot. So I'm going to kind of go wide here, and then we're going to give you a bigger, wider picture of exactly what's going on. Earlier on, you were asking questions about where this location is, how close it is to other, possibly the public. This is a wide shot. We are blessed to be over the TFR this morning, and that puts us at about 5,500 feet looking down at that area. I have the maps up so you can see the 710 and the 10 freeway, and all this area where the Biscaloo is basically in the center of is all going to be that county property out here. These are training centers. That's an old women's prison right there. This is a lot of executive buildings in this area as well. County fire trains here. And then, of course, they have a huge area for maintenance right in the back. All those vehicles that you're seeing right there, that's all LA County. Anything that's LA County that drives or floats or anything, they will fix it in that area. So where this actually happened is almost in the center of all of this. This is going to be the Biscaloo Training Center. This is what they were talking about. And I heard Mario talking to some of the people that may be nearby, and they said sometimes they can hear maybe shots being fired in the area. They have this is a training facility for law enforcement. They've got the shooting range right there, very close by. That's probably where they are hearing those shots being fired. And of course, they do the bomb squad training and physical activity out here as well. Sad to say, this morning they're still putting together exactly what happened, but we're starting to get those pieces in here. And of course, we haven't had anything official, but it definitely sounds like there was some sort of activity by the bomb squad trucks with bomb squad techs, and they were moving some sort of evidence perhaps, or maybe some live ammunition, whatever it was, tragedy struck this morning, and that whatever it was ignited. And it took the life of 3 deputies, sending another deputy to the hospital, unknown condition. That explosion, again, the questions were being asked, and it was legitimate questions. Were there broken windows when we first arrived out here? What did we see exactly? Well, we didn't see any evidence of a large blast, but again, there's so many different types of explosions. There can be, the ones that we know of, like we see on television with the big ball of fire, but there's also just compression explosions with just a rapid movement of air. It's just the same type of deadliness, and perhaps that's what has happened out here. That one thing that we do see that is new is that what appears to be that backpack in that area, and of course that broken window in the back of that SUV. All the other SUVs are fine, no other broken windows. So again, just playing CSI from up here, thinking that maybe that backpack was in that area, or maybe, sad to say, maybe it had been right there where those deputies were, and was launched and actually hit the back of that SUV, that deputy vehicle, breaking the glass. What we're seeing right now is a lot of activity, still very slow moving. They're going to be very meticulous, very checking dotting their I's, crossing the T's, and the people that are here, the investigators, they are not going to make any mistakes, and they are going to make sure of that. And you can see that they are a number of suits out here in the area, a number of uniformed deputies as well. Other types of bomb squad personnel have arrived here. We did see that one bomb squad personnel walking around the area, walking around the perimeter. And then when you came to me live, that was another bomb squad tech. Not sure if they're going to make their way over to that location, but we from past experience, that is actually some sort of X-ray device that he was holding right there, possibly to see if that what may be in another backpack. Hopefully it is not more explosives. You did mention that there is a lot of hugging. Of course there is. Any law enforcement, they are a family, and they have lost 3 of their own, and of course one of them in the hospital, so there is a lot of emotions going down there as well. Sending it back to you guys at the studio.
Right, we don't even know the condition of that individual who was transported to the hospital, and we might not know that information for quite some time. Joining us right now, Dennis Zine, retired LAPD supervisor and LA City councilman. Sir, good morning to you. Just your reaction upon hearing this news and watching it unfold.
Well, it's very tragic. I woke up to this, and it was frightening. It was horrifying, and it tells you what sacrifices our law enforcement officers make to protect the public. This particular situation, this tragedy, is in the history of Los Angeles. We've had officers who have perished in the line of duty. This type of situation with these officers, these deputies, I know that in Los Angeles Police Department we have a bomb squad. We've lost in the past a couple of officers who perished on an explosion, and this is unprecedented where you see this type of situation take place at a facility. This is at a sheriff's facility where they house their equipment, their personnel. And I can't express, from a law enforcement perspective, how tragic this is to see this loss of life and the impact on the deputies, their families, and the families of these deputies that perished in this tragedy. But what we find is these tragedies continue. We do everything we can in our power to make it safe as possible. I know that it's a hazardous assignment. It's a hazardous environment, yet deputies, law enforcement officers get involved in this type of situation, of this type of public safety to protect people. It's interesting that in LA County, where we have 88 cities, not every city has a bomb tech unit. We have the LAPD, we have the Sheriff's Department, we have the federal agencies, and most of the agencies rely on the LAPD Sheriff's Department anytime an explosive device is found. So they're highly specialized, highly technical, and this tragedy of 3 officers deputies who passed away and then one in the hospital, that's an incredible sacrifice that these folks have made. But with the ATF, the LAPD, the LA Sheriff's Department, and other agencies will come together and piece this situation together to find exactly who was involved and how this tragedy occurred and how we can prevent it from happening in the future.
I think you really touched on what a lot of people are thinking, how we can prevent this from happening so nobody, especially our first responders, law enforcement officials, never lose their lives protecting us, protecting, doing what they do best, right? Learning how to train for their jobs. Have you seen enough over the course of decades, in your experience, of the department and law enforcement getting better at this and making sure that there are preventative measures and safety measures in place for the men and women who serve?
Well, we do that over time. I joined the Los Angeles Police Department in 1968. I'm still active as a level 1 reserve officer. In 1968, when I joined the Los Angeles Police Department, we did not have ballistic vests. We did not have those. They were not issued. They were not thought of. We started developing that technology. When you're shot at least you can survive that if you're wearing a vest. So now it's mandatory. Officers in uniform must wear a vest. They're uncomfortable, but the fact is they're required to be worn. The explosive unit, our explosive units have, over the years, advanced their technology, the equipment, the safety equipment. But in this particular situation, you see on the ground of the sheriff's facility where, and I don't know what they were wearing at the particular time, but they have these uniforms that they wear that are supposed to protect them from explosives. And we see what happens in this tragedy where 3 pass away and then 1 is in the hospital. But over years, they've tried to enhance the safety of officers, deputy sheriffs, law enforcement personnel, to protect them so they can go home to their families at night. That's the key. Go on a shift and go home to your family and hopefully have a productive life.
That's a really interesting point you make. Actually, 1968, when you joined the department, there was no ballistic vest, because you hear that and you think, oh my goodness, how is that even possible, right? But oftentimes also it takes an incident, often tragic, in fact, in order for there to be a change in how things are done moving forward. That's just the name of the game.
Exactly, and technology changes. We had in those days radio in the police car. You get out of the police car, there's no communication. We now have handheld radios that every officer, every deputy has when they exit the vehicle. In the old days, you make sure you have 10 cents so you can find a phone booth and make a call if you need help. I mean, it's hard to believe in this day and age, the technology we have, the computers. We didn't have computers. We had pen and paper. All the reports were taken pen and paper. It was a whole different world. But I think of the transition from then until now in law enforcement, the advancement in technology, but we still have bombs, and we still have people that play with bombs, use explosives, and the tragedies where we find, in this case, 3 deputies killed, 1 deputy injured through explosives. Now, explosives should not be used by people in general occupation. Those are for specific environments. But what we have with the LAPD, with the Los Angeles County, this region, you would think how many officers assigned to explosive detail? It's a handful for the 88 cities of Los Angeles County. Very dedicated, highly trained. They get trained by the military. They get trained, constant training, constant progress into that environment to keep them safe so they can go home at night. And with their families, when they leave for work, they say, thank God, I hope they come home tonight. It's a very tense environment, and I feel for the families of these deputies who passed away, and the 1 deputy who was in the hospital, what the other deputies' families go through. But now these deputies, their families are at a loss because their loved one has perished protecting the people of Los Angeles County. 3 deputies perished protecting people of LA County.
Very somber, solemn day for LA, that is for sure. Dennis Zine, thank you so much for your time and perspective.
All right, good day to you. Thank you.
All right, let's go to Mario Ramirez, who's on the ground near the site right now. Mario, what is the latest from your vantage point?
Well, Sandra, I can tell you that I just spoke to someone here near this road closure at Eastern and Mariana, someone who
Well, we're going to continue to monitor this as we're waiting to get more information. We're also waiting for that press conference. But in the meantime, let's go to meteorologist Alec Bisson. Alex, you've been pretty busy in the weather department as well.
They didn't hear the explosion. They didn't see any smoke, but they're familiar with that training academy, and they all came out here to watch emergency vehicles speed up the road and trying to learn more information about what happened here, but what appears to be a tragic accident at that training facility early this morning around 7:30.
Yeah, definitely impacting so many people in and around that area. Thank you so much for that, Mario. We're taking a look at Skyfox and the aerials right there as a lot of personnel have been coming out for this investigation in the aftermath of the tragic explosion that happened at 7:30 this morning on the training facility grounds right there of the Special Enforcement Bureau. The bomb unit in particular, deputies transporting hazardous, dangerous explosives on that site.
Stu, we were earlier showing, Skyfox was showing us that individual who is with obviously the bomb unit, highly trained, carefully approaching the scene of the incident in tactical gear, whatever special vest or jacket that they wear for their own protection. And there was something that caught my eye next to the police vehicle that had the windshield blown up as a result of the explosion. You had mentioned, I believe, it was some kind of a bag. Is that right? I see it kind of in the middle there of the parking lot. What was that? That's not something that got left behind just now, right? That had been there. That's part of the evidence, perhaps?
That is definitely part of the evidence, and the fact that it has not moved and nobody has actually even tried to move it indicates that it is something that is involved with the incident that took the life of those 3 deputies. And it is something, again, you have to remember, Skyfox, we are up at 5,500 feet above the emergency TFR that the Sheriff's Department put in place, maybe for safety, maybe for noise, but we are up very, very high. This is the end of the lens, as it would be for Skyfox, and some people might say, oh, it's kind of blurry. It is really truly the best we can do from our location, but it is definitely something that is involved in whatever happened that took the lives of those 3 deputies. That vehicle that you were talking about, the rear glass on that SUV blown out, the other SUVs in that area, all the other vehicles in that area, all the glass intact, no damage. So that, again, we are just playing CSI from up at 5,500 feet. I believe that is something that was launched from the original explosion that took the deputies' lives, probably hit the back of that SUV, taking out that rear window. For me personally, I was very kind of on edge about saying that the LAPD bomb squad was arriving here on scene, because with these vehicles, when we were here originally, right after 7:30, we saw these vehicles arriving here on scene. And again, I said LAPD just because of the vehicles, and we have seen them in the past. But, you know, there's no markings. We didn't have any real confirmation. Is this LAPD helping out the Sheriff's Department? What exactly is going on? Well, we got our own confirmation up here, because that vehicle, that black one that you see in the center, that is the command post from LAPD's bomb squad. And that is the location where we've been watching the bomb techs making their way, that guy with the big suit on, the bomb suit, making his way back and forth. Other bomb techs with some of their mysterious equipment, they've been making their way back and forth from that truck. So they are definitely out here. They are definitely going to make sure that that scene is secure, whatever it was that caused this tragic moment. If there isn't anything else there, there isn't going to be another explosion. That's why they're here. That guy in the black down there, venture to say, just because we see so often, I'm just going by the uniform, even at this distance, the LAPD, they usually wear that all black, especially the bomb squad. Maybe it's a very dark blue, but it is a very dark uniform. The Sheriff's Department known more for their tans and their dark greens. So I would venture to say that that is a command post for the bomb squad, and they are down there making sure that everything is documented and making sure that everything is safe before they start allowing the detectives in there to start doing their investigation. And also, sad to say, the coroner down there to remove those deputies' bodies. All that still needs to be done. This area, like you said, completely locked down right now, and this is an area where there is a lot of executives, there's a lot of training, there was everything that is LA County basically only happens at this location. Maybe not exactly in that building, but in this area down here, a lot of it is where this is happening. And to this morning, a lot of them are not allowed to come to work. A lot of them are told basically to go home. And it is also very tragic. Gina had mentioned that these deputies now, some within the department, the names are coming out. You know, they are liked, very well known. Also, they do patrol apparently still. And this is just, it's a family, and they did lose 3 members of their family today. So there's a lot of heartbreak going on down there as well. That green truck that we're showing you right there, that definitely going to be the sheriff's department. Like I said, they all like their colors. They've got the dark green, and that's definitely going to be a sheriff's department command post. Nobody's going to be moving very quickly down there. This scene is not going to change very much at all from what we're seeing right now. Very slow movement, very slow pieces, very methodical, and everything documented to make sure that everything is done by the book. Again, we just assume that this was a movement of known something or another. I heard both the FBI expert and Dennis Sine talking about, and gladly, happily, that there was nothing nefarious, or they don't believe this was nefarious, but still it was an accident that took lives, and they do not ever want to see anything like that happen again. So of course they're going to document, they're going to figure this out, and they're going to make sure that nothing like this happens again. There you go. That's the Los Angeles Department. That's going to be their bomb squad vehicle. That's their main truck. Do they have one? Do they have 5? I couldn't really tell you, but I know that that is one of the ones that they have, and it's a command post. Basically, that has the robot in it and all of the tech that they need to decipher when there is a call of a suspicious package or an explosive device. That's what they bring out there. So they have all their tools that they need with them. As far as the fire department goes, we've only seen 1 fire truck out here and 1 ambulance and a squad, and they've been here since the beginning. When we first arrived shortly after 7:30, these same vehicles were here, and they have not left. So they're going to be here to make sure that if something happens, they have first responders available immediately. And again, we were talking about the buildings and the executives, and basically this is management in this area. This is where SEB is. This is where the Information Bureau is. And we watched a lot of the suits and a lot of uniformed deputies making their way out. A lot of hugging, of course, because this is emotional. I'm sure most of these deputies down there, they have a job to do. They're going to stay focused. They're going to stay professional. But of course, they have lost somebody on their team, somebody that they might have actually even known. And so this is going to be one of those moments where a hug, it's appropriate. There's no doubt about it. But as it stands right now, still very slow moving. A lot of deciphering about what happened. How safe is it going to be for the investigation to take the next steps? What the next step is going to be? Possibly, I don't really honestly know. Are they going to do the investigation? Then the respectful removal of the deputies that are still there? We'll find out. That's the only thing I can say. You can kind of make out ATF on those shirts down there, FBI as well. That's basically because this was an explosion. Anytime there is an actual explosion, pretty much since after 9/11, they are the ones that are going to come out to start and to help with the investigation. And believe me, this isn't any kind of a departmental grudge or we don't want these guys here. In this case, believe me, any kind of outside help, very much welcome. Anybody that's an expert on possibly what happened, very much welcome. And they are down there working with the detectives and also the uniformed deputies, and of course the fire department as well. Everybody down there working in that common goal to get this area safe, get those bodies removed, and of course start this investigation so this tragedy doesn't happen again.
Stu, just something that I haven't seen, I don't know if you saw, maybe we didn't get it on camera, but I haven't seen any bomb robotic tech being used at all. Like, I don't see that, and I don't know. Yeah. In my mind, I would think that would be something that would be out there rather than a bomb tech.
Exactly, and it's very interesting because one of the vehicle where this explosion happened next to, I cannot zoom in any closer than I am right now, center of the screen right now. And that is exactly, the door is open for the robot. I found that to be interesting. We can't really inspect it because our picture has been live on television the entire time, but that door is open. And you are correct. That is something that it caught my eye, and we noticed it earlier on. They are not using any tech. They are using humans to go over there. And maybe that is because the human, the human being is going to be able to document it much better. They're going to be able to make that assessment. When we originally found that backpack, I was wondering if maybe that was some sort of robot or, some sort of device. Some of the robots now are extremely tiny. One of them actually even looks like, literally like a dumbbell. And it just kind of scoots around. The round parts are the wheels, and it basically is a camera. And it just makes, can move around very quickly. And they send those in for the bomb squad and other SWAT activity as well. And, so when I saw that, I thought, maybe that's some sort of robot or something that was in the area. But with more inspection and the fact that you're right, we have not seen any technology moving around by the bodies or over by where that explosion happened. So they have only been sending in the human beings. And I guess really, truly, you're going to have to get one of the experts from down there to really answer it. But if I had to take a guess, an educated guess, I'd say it's because they are staying away from the robot and just staying with the human, because the human being can make a better assessment of what's going on.
And it's interesting to see, as we saw that bomb tech pace out in measured steps, kind of surround the area of impact. It makes you wonder if he's measuring, perhaps a radius or kind of measuring how far away things were happening. So obviously they have a lot of training when it comes to something like this, and unfortunately this tragedy unfolding this morning. And when you were talking about help, as we see so many of these first responders responding to this tragic accident, we do know that Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem sent out a statement saying DHS, the Department of Homeland Security, is working with state and federal law enforcement responding to this. So clearly, when you talk about help is coming from the highest levels of government and law enforcement to this scene. So, of course, they'll be updating us as soon as updates become available, they say. But obviously, coming from the federal level, they are praying for law enforcement and their loved ones, according to a statement. So this is a real unified command you're seeing here, Stu, as you were mentioning all of the officers that have been deployed to respond to this investigation. And you're seeing the personnel right there on the scene, trying to figure out what exactly happened and why, which are questions that we won't know the answers to for quite some time.
Definitely, and we are waiting for all those answers. And again, we've been through things like this in the past, where it is a trickle down effect, and the publics need to know. We will get the answers when they are available. There is no doubt about it. As far as that bomb tech goes, when he was doing those pace measurements, I really, truly believe that he was taking photos, like taking a step, taking a photo, taking a step, taking a photo, and then downloading that into a program where they are able to basically look at the scene from the computer and be able to zoom in, move around, it like one of those 360 type of situations where they are using that type of tech to get to look around to see, is there another device that we need to look at? Is there something else that we need to see before we send in people that are not in a bomb suit and start doing their investigation? So that I would venture to say that was a lot of what that paced movement was. But those suits, very awkward, and of course, because you have all that layered protection for a bomb blast. That's really what they're for. These deputies are, I'm not even sure what department they're with, but you can see them suiting up with just some type of body armor. So I would venture to say probably going to make some sort of approach. We're going to keep an eye on it. We've been doing the best we can. We did see some of the LAPD bomb techs earlier on, and it was one of those things. It's because of where this location is and where they are, and we definitely do not want to show any of the covered bodies in this area. They were making their way back over here in this area, and you can see that's one of those trailers right there where they detonate explosives. And I believe that this is very, very close to the area where that explosion was, and they were making their way back in this area with photography equipment. So again, I have a feeling that they're over here. They want to make sure that the area is completely safe before they make any type of move or try to, send in personnel that are not as heavily armored to start doing their investigation. And also, I keep saying it, maybe it doesn't really need to be said, but to remove the deputies that are still there on scene as well.
It might take a while before they're able to do that, because as we know, with incidents like this, they need to get evidence, kind of do a play-by-play of what happened, what went wrong, how it happened. That can take hours upon hours, and it's actually really tough, I imagine, for some of the families and friends and even just the department itself involved in this to deal with a situation like that where you have 3 people who've lost their lives still there on the scene. It makes it very, very tough. We are, just so our viewers are aware, we're showing the earlier recorded video there on the right-hand side of the screen, and then we have the live look right there in the left-hand side of the screen. Stu, if you can also, it appears to me, at least as I watch this, we're getting more response. More people from different departments are pouring into this facility.
Definitely, these are more trained personnel to deal with that exact, with what happened. This is going to be the LAPD bomb squad. You can see that is their command post vehicle. That's one of the ones where the robot's in there, is like you had mentioned. We hadn't seen it come out. This is where they carry all their, protective gear, all their investigation gear. And this one right here is basically a smaller version of that. But you can see the awning is out. They're starting to set up the tables. They're going to be here for a while, and they are going to make sure that this area is completely safe before they start sending in other personnel. And they are the ones that are going to make those calls, and they make sure that it's safe. And of course, like you said, ATF, Homeland Security, all these officials are making their way out here. This is a very tragic loss. 3 deputies losing their lives this morning in what may have been a training facility. It is a training facility, but maybe a training exercise. We don't really know. We're going to have to wait for that official report. A lot of suits are down there, so that's management. They are going to be making a lot of calls as well. And when I say calls, meaning saying, this is the way we're going to do it. This is the guy that's going to be allowed in next. What is our next step? These are the people that are going to be making those decisions down there. I don't know if it's exactly that group, because there's a couple of groups of suits down there. But believe me, they are all working together. They're all communicating. And this is going to be happening for quite some time. You've got other deputies in the area on the outside of that crime tape. You can see this whole area out here is crime tape. And believe me, if you go across one of those lines, they have to be allowed into or have a reason to be there before they, they're even allowed into like the outer perimeter, as it would be. So everything that's happening down there, very well documented. They're going to keep an eye on it. And then, of course, every piece of evidence that is down there is going to be, located and categorized. And, just basically they're going to know exactly what happened. They're going to have every piece of evidence logged, and they're going to know what happened, what took these deputies' lives, and then, of course, how to not have that happen again.
Yeah, we talked to a federal official, retired federal official earlier, who talked about what happens when bomb technicians or the bomb squad handles dangerous explosives like this. He said that, in fact, they do know whether it's live or not. This was probably not the case of them carrying just empty cartridges or something that was deactivated. So they knew that what they were handling was dangerous. There's usually a driver, an assistant driver, and then other personnel involved when transporting something like this for more eyes on the scene. However, it's unclear, obviously, how many people were involved in this action. We only know of the 3 fatalities and the 1 injured, so it's unclear how many other people were involved in this. We're still waiting to hear, but this kind of gives you an indication that they did know they were handling such dangerous explosive material. They were trained for that. Obviously, to be on this squad, it does take a lot of training. First, 5 to 7 years as a patrol deputy, and then on duty, and then specialized training to get into this unit as well. So these are trained professionals who knew they were handling something quite dangerous, and what exactly happened, remains to be seen at this point. But it's what you are saying, that it's not a training exercise, they were handling material at the training facility, is how we understand this is playing out so far in terms of what they were doing at 7:30 this morning. Again, the explosion happening just outside of one of the buildings, as we see there from the aerials, more by the cars and the units where the explosives were being kept at that point.
Yeah, definitely, and you know, I was just trying to show, and again, this is one of the things we have to be very careful what we push into, what we show, because again, now they are starting to make their way closer to where the bodies are. And we did show you moments ago those officers putting on that lighter type of armament and making their way over there. They have actually made their way over there right now. You can see one right there, and then that one, he's actually on the other side of the vehicle where this tragedy happened. So they are starting to get a little closer. They are starting to, the process of making this area safe for the investigation to start down there. I would venture to say, just because of the uniforms, even though we are up so high, you can just clearly tell they are darker uniforms, that those are going to be LAPD officers down there from their bomb squad, and they are basically setting up a perimeter. But I did see him squatting and looking still underneath the vehicles, because, you know, we don't know exactly what happened, and I'm sure they don't know exactly what happened either. So they've got to make sure that there wasn't something that may have strayed, or like looking underneath the vehicles to make sure that, you know, that a portion of that explosive device didn't make its way over here or underneath there, because they do not want to have any more tragedies happen while they're doing their investigation. So I would venture to say that's exactly what that officer is doing right there. They have to make sure that this area is completely safe and sanitized before they make their way in to start their investigation. And again, very meticulous, and it's going to take some time. And believe me, they have plenty of that right now. But this is, again, it's tragic, don't get me wrong, it's very tragic, but it is also very interesting to watch on a, you know, on a law enforcement, first responder type of mentality. It's like, how are they breaking this down? What are they doing? How are they keeping their guys safe? What is the next step? And in a way, it is very interesting to watch, but is also in that same breath very tragic. And of course, you know, our hearts go out to the families, and of course the family of the Sheriff's Department for losing 3 of their own today.
Yeah, a lot of questions, not enough answers quite yet. It could take some time to get some of those answers. So it does add to the frustration, of course, as well as we await to see what happened. So I'm just seeing right now Hilda Solis, who's a Los Angeles County supervisor, whose district actually does include this training center. She has been in touch naturally with Sheriff Robert Luna, and she did just put out a statement saying, "My heart goes out to the families, friends, and colleagues of the 3 individuals who lost their lives in what appears to have been a devastating explosion." So the 3 individuals who lost their lives, and then we have to remember there was 1 person who was transported, and we don't have information yet about how severe the injuries were, who this individual was, what the outcome is, you know, are they in surgery, how severely they were hurt. That is something we're waiting to see. So for those who are joining us right now, if you just joined us, we've been on this story for, I've lost track of time, for quite a while now, at least a couple of hours, yep. Right? This all happened right before 7:30, 7:25, 7:27, where 3 deputies were killed in an explosion there at the East Los Angeles Training Center. And we're working still to get more information, but that is the tragic news that we have been covering this morning.
3 sheriff deputies who lost their lives during a transport of some dangerous explosives just outside the facility right there on the grounds of the training facility, as well as 1 more deputy transported with unknown severity in terms of injuries right there. But clearly a unified response with all law enforcement agencies coming together now to figure out what exactly happened and why. But we are getting a lot of reaction from the federal level down to local level in terms of the outpouring of grief and support for the law enforcement community, their families, as well as LA in general. So again, the explosion happening just before 7:30 right here at this training facility. You're seeing an aerial shot of where exactly this took place, right by those white tents, as more personnel come to the scene to respond to this investigation. It's unknown right now what kind of explosive material these bomb technicians were handling and why they were transporting the material as well. But we heard from some federal law enforcement officials who have retired, who have experience in all this, that these are highly trained individuals that have been, first of all, on patrol duty and then took specialized training to be in this elite unit. Let's go to Christina Gonzalez now, who is live on the scene with more on this. Christina.
Walking out in front of you to plug in. Yes, okay, so where I'm standing, and keep in mind, they're actually setting up a press conference here at this location, which is at the base of the hill. We should have more information at noon, but I can tell you some things preliminarily. Before I do that, though, I got to tell you, this was a loud explosion. The closest places where people actually live, apartments and homes, about a quarter mile down the street. And I actually spoke to somebody who was woken up this morning by the sound of that explosion. Listen to him.
It was a reverberating boom, so it almost had two parts to it, like a boom, and then it reverberated on the back side of it. I do sound engineering and stuff, and that was a very, very deep boom. It sounded like some damage. I thought maybe a garage had blown up, or I know people keep fireworks, in these neighborhoods, but it had a distance to it, and that made it even a little more frightening, because that's something's up.
And again, keep in mind, this is a huge facility. We used to come here for trainings years ago. So what you see is a large facility where the Sheriff's Department has all kinds of training for their very good specialized teams. On top of that is LA County Fire. So the whole hill is the facility itself. From what I am hearing, and this is very, very preliminary, it looks like something was being transported. Not that they were working on something, because these guys are really, really careful. If they're going to work on something, they're going to bring in the robot. They are going to do an x-ray of this thing. So this caught them off guard completely, it seems that way. And it may have been some kind of ordnance that they were transporting. I can tell you that the last time we had anything like this happen was actually, and you might correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was 1986. And that was the last time we had anybody in the bomb squad die from something like this. In 1986, I believe it was North Hollywood, and I'm pretty sure it was LAPD. They were disarming something in an apartment, and it went off on them. And that was the kind of thing that happened that made them change the way they responded. I know everybody likes to see the movies where people clip the little red, cable, and they have to pick. It doesn't work that way. In real life, what these guys do is if they see something or they're working something that they don't know, first a robot goes in with an x-ray, and they look at it. If they're going to transport something that they think is dangerous, they're going to do it in a specialized vehicle. Things happen, as we remember, from 2021 when the fireworks exploded in that specialized box, as it were, that they weren't supposed to, but that was inside that unit that they had put those things in. This was not inside one of those units. This was in a vehicle. It was being transported. Why it went off, we don't know at this point. Again, at noon, we are going to have a press conference, and we will be able to find out more. But at this point, I can tell you that 3 people are dead. One was transported to a local hospital, and we'll know more then. I'm Christina Gonzalez, live from East Los Angeles. Back to you guys at the station, and of course with our condolences to the family of the Sheriff's Department and all law enforcement, because this is hitting them really hard. And I can tell you, because as I was walking up, the deputies, keeping the vehicles away, you could see it in their faces. I mean, this is hard. This is just really, really difficult. So our condolences goes out to the law enforcement family, of course.
Oh, it's tough. It certainly is. So, Christina, as you were mentioning, they are setting up for a news conference, right? Did you say at noon they're trying to aim for that? Is that right?
Yeah, that's what they're looking for. They have to bring the whole team here, and it's going to be right next to where I'm standing, actually, and that is what they are looking for. Now, that could change back and forth a little bit, but we should be able to at least get more confirmation around noontime at this location. Of course, we'll bring it to you live, so stay tuned, and you can hear from them directly.
How hard was it for you to get as close as you are right now to where you're standing? Because
Good point. Thank you for bringing that up. Because, okay, keep in mind that this is an industrial facility. Most of the people who work here were here early this morning. They've set up, we are right off of Eastern Avenue. What they have done is set up locates at Eastern. Now, if you are on the freeway and you have to take the Eastern exit, you might want to avoid it right now and take the 710. Go on Hazard, for example. If you know the area, you know what I'm talking about, because there's quite a bit of backed up traffic. But I was able to get in, and now, you know, it took a little while. So there is some traffic, not a lot, but enough. It seems to have calmed down a bit. But Eastern completely, we're at Eastern and Sheriff, is completely blocked off. And so if you have to come across this area, avoid either. Again, get on the 710 at Hazard, go around, but just avoid it for now because they've got vehicles going in. You've got the FBI, you've got all kinds of federal agencies coming in to assist on this, as we would expect. And so it's going to be like this for the day.
All right, Christina, thank you so much. We'll check back in with you. For those of you joining us right now, we are being broadcast simultaneously on KCOP, Fox 11 Plus, Channel 13. So thank you for joining us as we continue to cover this tragic accident that took place just before 7:30 at the LA training facility of the Sheriff's Department Special Enforcement Bureau, where 3 bomb technicians, LASD deputies, have lost their lives. 1 other deputy transported with injuries as they were trying to move and transport dangerous explosives right there at the facility. Let's go live to Mario Ramirez, who's on the ground there at the scene right now, to tell us the latest from your vantage point. Mario.
Yeah, Sandra, we're on the 900 block of Eastern near Mariana, and we can tell you at one point there are a few businesses here nearby, Jets Plastics and a metal contracting company across the street. They came out here, at least a few workers, asking the sheriff's deputies here if there was a need to evacuate the buildings with the workers inside. They said that was not the case. There was not a public threat, but you can understand why there was some concern here. There were several emergency vehicles. The people I spoke with say they didn't hear that explosion necessarily, but shortly after, we're learning about what happened as that emergency response was unfolding. So again, this is at Eastern and Mariana. We see sheriff's deputies here that have been turning residents away for the last maybe 2 hours, hour and a half that we've been here. So 3 deaths confirmed to be LA County Sheriff's deputies. We know the LA bomb squad, LAPD bomb squad, is now on the scene. The FBI Los Angeles office, as well as the ATF, starting a thorough investigation. There was some sort of explosion at around 7:25 this morning, reported at that training academy. It appears to have happened while explosive materials were being transported, so not necessarily a training exercise here. And the Sheriff's Information Bureau confirming that it did happen on the 10,000 block of Eastern, west of the 710 freeway this morning, near City Terrace Park. Now, the facility serving as a full-scale training center for the LA County Sheriff's Department, and this is a huge department, the largest sheriff's department in the country, nearly 10,000 sworn deputies, and it employs about 18,000 people. Many learning about this news this morning. We know 1 deputy was injured and taken to the hospital, and we're waiting to hear if there were any more that were involved here. And we talked to a few residents as well, trying to get through this roadblock, but it's a hard closure. No one allowed in except emergency vehicles right now. And this, of course, is going to be a very thorough investigation surrounding the explosive materials that ignited and exactly how that happened. We're still, of course, having many questions here near this closure. We can tell you earlier we spoke to a man who was here. He worked for the county internal services department. He says he works at that facility often, and he was on his way. He says he was trying to get information about a senior deputy who'd been with the department for over 15 years with the Special Enforcement Bureau. He was at that facility when this happened, and he tried to call his cell phone to reach him. It went straight to voicemail, and he was working to try and get a hold of some family members. But you can understand why there would be some concern, not able to get a hold of him. And again, he was at that facility here when this happened. So we're waiting for more word. As you heard Christina mention earlier, there's going to be a news conference just down the hill from where we are at around noon today. So a very developing story here, but tragic news for the LA County Sheriff's Department as well as law enforcement across the region.
Yeah, that's right, Mario. Thank you. And we do have a lot of reporters on the ground right there. We talked to Christina Gonzalez, who says in just about an hour or so, we are expecting to hear from officials at the Sheriff's Department to tell us about what exactly happened here this morning. But as we wait for that, you're looking at the live aerial view of first responders responding to this incident, a unified command. We're talking about law enforcement agencies from all over, federal, local, and state officials responding to this tragedy of 3 LASD deputies who have lost their life, and one, of course, in the hospital at this point. But this is just a tragedy that we were unexpecting this morning, obviously happening at a training facility, which is supposed to be a safe place for law enforcement officials who specialize in their craft, in their training, as they were transporting dangerous explosive materials, and then this happening. So again, a lot of outpouring of support from so many officials here locally, as well as from the state and federal level, in terms of the condolences being poured out right now. Let's go up to Stu and Sky Fox with what you're seeing, Stu, and the latest from Sky Fox.
Hey, you know, I'm going to do just a little bit of a recap. I have to do it really kind of quick because if we keep moving like this, you're going to start, it's going to get to the area where we can see the bodies of the deputies. That is the vehicle where they were working around when this explosion happened, right around 7:25 this morning. And we know that one deputy was taken to a local hospital and 3 others passed here on scene. You can see a little bit of broken glass. I know the shot is very blurry. We're up at 5,500 feet looking down through a temporary TFR. And then you see that thing that is kind of sitting there, that tan thing in the roadway. If this is the first time you're tuning in, we believe that that was part of what was going on when that explosion happened, and it actually flew and hit the back of this deputy's SUV, shattering the rear windows. None of the other windows are broken in this area. Now you see some of these officers down there with the darker uniforms. Some of them might be firefighters, but that group that we see right there, that's going to be the LAPD bomb squad. And they have been basically making their way over to the scene and basically de-escalating every time they go there. The very, very first time they were in a heavy, heavy bomb suit. There was one officer in one of their bomb suits, and they basically had made their way over there, did a little bit of an inspection. A few minutes later, maybe half an hour, you saw 2 of their law enforcement, but with less of that protective gear on. And then basically just keep going and going and going, making their way over there to do that inspection to see if that area is safe. That is what they're doing. They have to make sure that if there is any explosives in that area, that it is going to be safe for this investigation to start, and sadly to say, for the removal of those deputies' bodies that are still here on scene. You can see LAPD bringing in their command vehicles, those 2 black trucks that you see in the center of the screen, the big one, and then the smaller one right there. And then, of course, when we were here right around 7:30 this morning, one of the first responders that we saw come to this location after LA City Fire Department were these white trucks. And I did say early on, unconfirmed, maybe not as professional as I should have been, but I did say that these were LAPD bomb squad officials making their way here to the scene. Their vehicles unmarked. I just went by what they looked like, and I knew that that is the typical LAPD bomb squad. So they were one of the first ones to respond out here. Were they asked to help? Were they just helping because they knew that this had happened? You know what? All of that really doesn't make any difference, because the Sheriff's Department welcomed their appearance out here to start to basically make this place safe for the investigation. The other people that we've been seeing come in here, it's very difficult to see from this altitude, but you can see basically black shirts, yellow writing. Some of that's ATF, some of that is FBI. They've made their way out here as well. I heard Sandra and Roxia talking earlier on about the fact that the Homeland Security was going to send some people out here also helping with the investigation, not because they thought that this was some sort of malice happening out here, but just because they need to be out here. They have to figure out what happened. They got to make sure there was no malice, which we do not believe there was. And then we have to find out how this happened, why this happened, what were they handling, why did it explode. There's so many questions that still need to be answered, and that is what we're looking at right there, is the beginnings of that long long and lengthy investigation. Now, the fire truck that we see right there probably was one of the first ones here on scene. Not sure if he came from the training facility and or the local fire department, but that is an LA County fire truck, and it has been here since we arrived. This was already here on scene when we arrived, and then also that ambulance that's still out here that has also been here since the beginning of that tragedy that happened at the Biscayne Training Center. Now, we did see a lot of people leave the area. They were basically evacuated, and or it was one of those, if you don't have to be here, you need to leave. If you work here today and you are not here, do not come into work, because there is nothing that you can do in this location. So anytime you see a person walking around down there, any of you see any movement, you know that those people were here or need to be here because of what happened. Sheriff's Department, even though this is the training facility, and SEB, they brought in their mobile command post. Something else that I noticed earlier on, just kind of to fill space, is the equestrian units. Now, when we first arrived out here, I noticed that they were actually, the trailers were here, the horses were out, so they were actually out here doing some sort of training as well. They moved the trailers, but they have not left the area, possibly because they might have fallen into it, even though they're going to call it a crime scene, because this is an area that needs to be investigated. So they were told not to leave. That's what I'm guessing is going on down there. But anyways, this is a very busy area down here. Safety is the first priority for all the people that are involved. And then, of course, the investigation is just as important. But first, they have to make sure that it is safe for their investigators to make their way over there. And then, of course, the grim portion of removing of the deputies' bodies. It's even difficult for me to say that. They still have to do that as well. So we continue to see activity, passing along of information, a lot of hugs going on down there. This is all law enforcement. This is all one big community. We've always said that. We always know that. And when they lose 3 of their own in a tragic training accident, of course, there's going to be a lot of emotions down there. And it's also emotions and technical issues that they have to deal with. And they're doing a fantastic job. It's just very slow going, as they want to make sure they do everything properly and correct. Sending it back to you guys.
Yeah, Stu, and this is a unique situation, right? Because you have these LASD deputies who are in tandem investigating what happened while also grieving the loss of 3 of their own. And I'm sure there's going to be questions over whether this device, this material that was being transported at the time of the explosion was evidence perhaps from a crime scene, a separate crime scene, or if this was in fact part of the training exercise.
Definitely. That these, there's so, my God, the net of information that they have to toss and look into. And again, we don't even really know what happened. We know that there was an explosion. What exploded? We don't know. Right now, you can see these guys. I know it's a little difficult to see. Let me get out of the digital doubler. Maybe you can still make out what's going on down there. But those are going to be, I would venture to say, let's just call them bomb techs and investigators. They are actually putting down markers where there is evidence from that explosion. So we don't know, but we assume that backpack was launched and hit the back of that window and shattered. But there must be other pieces down there that we just can't see from 5,500 feet, where you can see these deputies down there placing markers right now, evidence markers, and also looking underneath vehicles. And momentarily, you just saw one of them looking on a rooftop. They don't know where pieces of whatever happened landed, and they need to make sure that they find all this stuff, mark all this stuff, and it is all logged and categoried, because they want to know exactly what happened. Now, what I was talking about, we're in a good spot right here where we don't have to worry about seeing anything we don't want to see. I believe that is some sort of backpack right there. We haven't seen any deputies or anybody make their way by it or try to move it. It has been here since we got here. And then you have that broken window in the back of that SUV. Mm-hmm. All these windows, not broken. No other windows broken. So it makes me think that that was something that was over by those deputies or with those deputies when that explosion happened, got launched, hit the back of that truck right there, shattered the window. And these other officers down there, they're basically walking the perimeter right now, looking for anything that could have been part of that explosion. Yeah. And you can see it right there. He's got markers that looks like a red flag, and they're gonna be putting those down wherever they find something that basically doesn't belong, and so that they can have they'll be part of that investigation.
Right. Certainly trying to measure the debris field right there, just how forceful that blast was, what type type of explosive they were dealing with, and obviously the impact it had, certainly all under investigation.
All right, let's get out to Christina Gonzalez. She's there on the ground. There's supposed to be this press conference, Christina, that's going to be held around noontime.
That's the hope, right where we're standing. In terms of what you were talking about how far this was felt, I can tell you that at the base of this hill, which is about a quarter of a mile, people in their homes heard this. It woke them up this morning, and we actually have somebody who describes it quite well. Listen. We're going to go to that sound as soon as we can. In the meantime, what they're saying is that at about 7:30 this morning, they thought it was like an explosion of a garage. They're used to hearing things out here because keep in mind, this facility does a lot of work with explosives. This is where the sheriff's explosives team is based out of. So it is not unusual to hear things going off, as it were. But this was very, very different. Car alarms went off. We understand that within the facility, the windows were shattered. You saw some of the images that Stu was showing you. We understand quite a few vehicles. So what they have to do right now, as he was explaining and showing you, is find out where all the debris went, the debris field, as it were. You also have seen that they are trying to figure out if this was safe, or this is safe at this point, because this has to obviously caught them off guard. The Sheriff's Department is very, very, very careful. The people here at Biscay Luz, which is what this training facility is called, they know their stuff, and they actually, when they're dealing with explosives that they are not sure what it is, they're going to bring in a robot with an x-ray machine. They're going to look at it. They're going to test it from far away. So what it seems may have been happening here is that they were transporting something. Now, what it was, we don't know. But keep in mind that in the last few weeks, they have been picking up a lot of fireworks from all over the place. And some of that stuff could be brought here. We don't know that's what it is, but it would make sense, for example. That is one possibility because they've been picking up, it's been 4th of July, and whenever they pick up those, if they're really large, like in Commerce, for example, they had a huge bus, they left it there in the warehouse until they can have the ATF move it. But if it's a small enough amount, they might try to move it. Usually they would move it from the location to here or whatever facility they're moving it in a specialized vehicle. This seems to have been a moving of the items, as it were, whatever they were, within the facility for training, for whatever. But they must have not thought that this was in any way dangerous. Now, what happens if you know anybody in explosives? If number one, they're incredibly careful, and the number two is they will tell you that friction is their worst enemy, and that is because when you are transporting any kind of explosive, if it is unstable, any kind of motion will set it off. In the old days, when we used to have radios, like radios that we clicked, they used to tell us not to use them if we were near a location where they were actually finding out if something was an explosive or not, because that click, that sound sometimes could set it off. So they're really, really, really careful about this stuff. So this obviously caught him off guard. We'll know more about it at noon when they have a press conference, but at this point, we do have 3 people dead, 1 person hospitalized. One update, they did move the yellow tape to in front off of Eastern. If you live on the base of Eastern, which is about a quarter mile from the entrance to the facility, there are homes there. If you live there, they moved the yellow tape to the other side of the homes so you can drive into your house. It's no longer off limits. I just double checked that. But with that, I will tell you there is traffic off of Eastern, so you may want to go the other way around anyway. And if you do not have to be in this area, avoid it, because they're going to have a lot of vehicles coming in and out. I'm Christina Gonzalez, live in East Los Angeles. Back to you guys in the studio.
Christina, you did mention that typically, I mean, always, they're very careful when they handle these explosive devices or explosive materials. However, I mean, if this explosive material was recovered, for example, from a separate incident or a separate crime scene, I guess they wouldn't necessarily know if the material is fragile or if it's older and might be a bit more volatile.
you know, for example, I remember, and I'm going to emphasize that this has nothing to do with this, but I'll give you an example. I remember a few years back, they found in somebody's backyard old, like World War II type of stuff. These, you know, what they thought were, you know, possibly live explosives. And they were there for 2 days trying to make sure they were not in any way dangerous. And even then, when they went to move them, they actually put them in very specialized vehicles, because the older it is, and it depends on where it's been kept, but the older it is, if it's gotten wet in the past, if people were keeping stuff in their garage and they didn't know it was there, that stuff they're very, very careful with when they find it, because it's highly volatile. So, you know, not knowing what this is, you know, it brings to mind that if they were moving it like they were in a vehicle, they must have thought that it was safe. You know, there is no indication at this point that this is nothing but an accident. Again, we'll know more at noon, but they're not acting like it is anything beyond that, as tragic as it is in whatever it is. But, you know, it definitely doesn't happen often. Like I said, the last time it happened was 39 years ago, and in North Hollywood. So you know, it's tragic. It truly is. But it's going to be something that they're going to be looking at. That's why everybody's descending here. ATF, every agency, federal, state, they're coming here, because whenever something like this happens, they all want to find out what happened, because they learned from it too.
Absolutely.
So, but yeah, you know, like I said, they've been picking up a lot of fireworks in busts lately. Sometimes they bring them here, and sometimes that stuff has been kept in really bad conditions by whoever was keeping them. Or, you know, maybe it was something that somebody found in their garage. We don't know. We don't know. We'll know at noon, though. Hopefully.
Yes, thank you so much, Christina.
They may not know yet.
Right.
You know, they may not know. They may have a log. That's the other thing. Whenever they transport anything, even within the facility, there is a log. You do not move any kind of ordinance like that without writing it down. We're moving this from here to there, so people know where things are, because you need to. So they probably know what they picked up, or what they thought they were picking up, and what they were doing with it. Now, the question as to why it went off, that's probably going to take a while. Back to you.
That's right. We don't know what that evidence they were carrying is or was, and certainly that's under investigation. But we did talk to Hal Kempfer earlier this morning, who is a law enforcement expert, and he did mention that any type of explosive, you know, you don't know how volatile or unstable it is. It really depends on where it was kept, what kind of condition it is, and obviously these experts who are handling all of this have to take that into account, and it could be really unstable, especially if it's from an unknown source, meaning they perhaps got it from an investigation or a different type of seizure. Someone else was holding it and transporting it or storing it. So all of these questions certainly up in the air at this point, but clearly, unfortunately, you know, there's no 100% safety measure when handling dangerous explosives like this.
Let's get out to Mario Ramirez. He is near the scene, and he's got some more details for us. Mario. Mario, can you hear us?
Where that?
Okay.
All right, in the meantime.
Hey guys, we're at Eastern and Mariana. We are here. We're talking about what we're seeing here on the ground. We've been talking to workers and residents. At one point, there was some concern about evacuating the area, but the sheriff's deputies alerting everybody here at this intersection that there was no public threat and that it was safe to remain inside. So we've still got plenty of people working in the area as this is all happening. I want to bring in Massimo. He's a resident. He's been here living at the home for about 3 years, right near this training center. Walk me through this morning when this happened. You were at home, and walk me through what you...
I was at home. I was like relaxing, making some breakfast when everybody started calling me. He said there was like an earthquake, like an explosion. What? No, I haven't heard anything like that. I turned on the news and everybody's talking about the facility over here, the sheriff's department. 3 sheriffs got dead. It's so sad.
Yeah, that's right. 3 sheriff's deputies, another one injured, sent to the hospital. So am I understanding that some people thought it might have been an earthquake or they felt something?
There was a person who told me there was an earthquake. I said, I haven't felt anything like that. And all with my dog right now, I see all this. It's like pretty sad.
Yeah, and what do you think to hear that there's a training center where this all happened, the LA County Sheriff's deputies involved, 3 unfortunately lost their lives here. We're still working to get more information, but what's your reaction as someone who lives right next door?
No, first I feel so bad for the sheriff. Like, yeah, it's so bad to hear that next to me. In the other thing, you're like, I kind of worry because my property is next to them. Yeah, it's kind of, yeah, you worry a little bit. But I worry more for their life, for people.
Yeah, and before I let you go, what street are you on, and is it blocked? You're able to get home?
It's Blanchard Street. Right. Yeah, my house is next to the facility.
Okay, no closure there right now?
It's close. So not to the facility because there is like a big hill, but over there on top is their property.
Right. Okay. Thank you, sir. We appreciate you talking to us. Yes. So we are hearing from some people who are not able to get back to their properties, and I want to show you a little bit more of the scene here. Again, sheriff's deputies, we've been watching those emergency vehicles. We heard someone say, FBI, let us through, and they went right up to the training center, which is about maybe a half a mile, a quarter mile up the road from this intersection. We know that explosion went off at about 7:25 this morning, reported at the Biscalou Center Academy training, and it appears to have happened while explosive materials were being transported. So not necessarily a training exercise that was taking place when this all happened. The Sheriff's Information Bureau this morning confirming that it did happen, that explosion on the 10,000 block of Eastern Avenue. And we saw that sheriff's SUV with blown out windows. This facility serving as a full-scale training center for the LA County Sheriff's Department. And of course, we know so many across the region are just learning about this news. 3 killed, another injured, and there could be possibly more information about additional injuries. So very sad news as we continue to learn more and as the scene develops here in this part of East Los Angeles. Back to you.
All right, that's right, Mario. Thank you so much. I know a lot of residents in the area were concerned, some hearing the explosion early this morning, and some just trying to make their way through the residents and the neighborhood, trying to get to elderly parents. At one point, Mario spoke with somebody trying to get through. So they have hardened the perimeter, but also have made exceptions and leeway for areas where residents do, in fact, want to get to their neighborhoods and their loved ones in that area without impacting the investigation at this point, because a lot of federal, state, local personnel coming into that area for the investigation as this continues. But certainly this is going to be a very active scene for quite some time, as we don't know the answers to everything that unfolded this morning. We're like taking a look at the aerial shot of Skyfox, providing us the view and the vantage point of the campus this training facility sits on, right there in East LA, where this tragedy unfolded. And unfortunately, 3 sheriff deputies.
Here in Los Angeles for 10 years. I've interviewed their captain. I've spoken with him several times about the elite training that they go through. And this department actually trains departments with other, or I should say officers with other law enforcement agencies as well. So you know they are highly specialized. We are here on Eastern Avenue, south of the sheriff's facility here in East LA. The road is closed at Mariana Avenue, where these deputies are keeping everyone out other than first responders. And we have seen countless first responders show up here and go through this barricade to get up to that training facility where the investigation is now underway, and potentially where they are still dealing with live explosives. That's why they're keeping us so far away at this point. We want to show you video from SkyCal so you get an idea of what it looks like there. This is on top of a hill here on Eastern Avenue, and so where we are standing, About a quarter-mile south of there, these businesses are all kind of downhill. So some people told me that they didn't hear anything. Others said they heard some sort of blast, but it was muffled because they were inside the building. I did speak with a county employee who's worked on that campus for the better part of 20 years, who tells me he's heard training go on there before. He's heard some blasts happen as these crews have done their work. But this one, according to his colleagues, was completely different, and they knew it the moment they heard that blast. Listen to what he described for us just a short time ago.
Actually, one of the guys just said he heard a loud explosion, and he was inside the facility, which is usually when you're outside you hear them, but when you're inside you rarely hear anything. But he heard a loud explosion, and when he went out there was a bunch of sheriff deputies already on site. The first thing that came to my mind was just unfortunately the families, and my heart goes out to them, and just prayers for the family, and it's just definitely a sad day.
And certainly when you think about this, these sheriff's deputies that are continuing their work, all of the law enforcement, we know that that is an extended family, so a difficult day for them. As for businesses in this area, some of them thought they may have to evacuate. They were told that by sheriff's deputies, but they've since learned that they do not have to, at least from where we are at Mariana Avenue and south here on Eastern Avenue. They're allowed to continue business as usual, but in the initial stages, they didn't know, the sheriff's department didn't know. Again, they may still be dealing with live explosives, so they weren't sure what to do at that point. Last thing I'll leave you with, we did see one woman show up here. She looked distraught. She was talking to deputies. They were talking to somebody on her cell phone, and then they told her, we'll get an escort to come pick you up. She was crying and did not want to speak, but she was picked up in a car and taken up. So she may be a relative of somebody involved in this, or maybe a relative of somebody who works up there. We're not sure yet, but this is kind of the state of what we're in. We know that family members are being taken up nearby to speak with people from the sheriff's department. This is just a very difficult day, not only for the sheriff's department, especially for the sheriff's department, but also beyond that, this community that these deputies serve. Back to you.
Absolutely. And you know what, Rick, that is just a reminder of all the people who are personally impacted by this terrible tragedy. Thank you so much for that. We want to continue our coverage of this breaking news. We want to get over to our Amanda Starantino now, who is also near the scene and awaiting a press conference any minute now. We're expecting Sheriff Robert Luna to speak, as well as other officials, and finally get more information on this explosion, which happened several hours ago now, Amanda.
Yeah, but obviously, Sheba, this is a very sensitive topic. You have 3 sheriff's deputies that were killed in this explosion while handling some sort of explosives there this morning. And as Rick just said, we're looking to get more information, and so are all the families involved in this. And it's just hearing him say that and what that woman is going through right now and what's going on in her head, you can't imagine. It's unimaginable. Right now, we are waiting for Sheriff Luna to arrive here right at the front entrance of the facility here, of this training facility of Biscaloos. You can see those sheriff's deputies' cars over there, so they are setting up. They have us prepared to hear from Sheriff Luna and possibly some homicide investigators as well. What we've been seeing here so far, I would say in about the last hour, not a lot of cars leaving the facility, but several coming in. About an hour ago, there was definitely more, because we have different agencies involved now through this, because we don't want law enforcement investigating their own law enforcement here. So we're seeing the ATF and also the FBI Los Angeles coming into this area to assist in this investigation and investigate it on a federal level, so above the sheriff's department. But obviously the sheriff's department will be assisting since this is right on their facility. But you can imagine how difficult it would have to be to investigate this type of situation where it's literally your own colleagues. This becomes your friends, your family, your people, your community. And these are people who have dedicated their life to service to protect our community. And what we're seeing here, so this is the arson and explosive unit for the sheriff's department. And this includes the bomb squad as well. So they work with the highest risk, very elite group with very intensive training here as well. A lot of different types of training with law enforcement happens here. You can see some more cars coming in with law enforcement and different agencies coming in to assist in this investigation, and they're slowly trickling in. So it looks like it's safe to be on the property, as they are allowing these units into this area. They're not allowing anyone from the public to come up here to the entrance. So this is Eastern right here. It's only media that is allowed access to this area. So Northeastern on both sides, north and south, are blocked off. We went to both sides, and that is what we saw. So we drove around the area. The neighborhoods are still open, and people are still at home right now, and everything seems to be operating. We saw trash pickup still going on in the areas over there, so they don't seem to be too affected. But right here, completely blocked off. A lot of us just waiting for more information, because right now all we do know is that 3 deputies were killed in that explosion. We know this is an ongoing investigation, and we have also been told that this is most likely just a horrific and tragic accident happening here while these deputies were just going. They showed up to work this morning, and it's happening just so quickly and so fast, and now families just waiting for answers, and hopefully we can get more within the next hour when Sheriff Luna should be here for a press conference to give us some more details. But for now, back to you guys.
All right, thank you so much, Amanda. We'll check back in with you as soon as that press conference starts. Let's get back over to the desk with our Mark Lou. Mark, I understand you're getting more information about what actually caused this explosion.
Yes, so here at the desk we have gotten a lot of new information, including from CBS News confirmed they have spoken to 2 senior law enforcement officials in Los Angeles that have been briefed on this investigation. And those senior law enforcement officials now tell CBS News that this does not appear to be a training accident. Rather, it appears that these 3 members of the elite arson and explosives units for the LA County Sheriff's Department were handling explosive material that was recovered in some way yesterday. Now, we don't know what kind of an operation it was, but this was apparently explosive material, very powerful explosive material. We don't know the nature of it, but it was recovered yesterday, and it does not appear to be an improvised explosive device. So we're not looking at something like a homemade firework or a homemade pipe bomb, but some other kind of explosive. This was not a training incident that was going on. These were 3 deputies. We now confirm that they are all men. They were part of the elite arson and explosives unit. And for some reason, they were handling that explosive material, possibly to take it for disposal at this facility. Now, the members of this team that were killed, they were described as being very respected members of this department. Usually, the elite arson and explosives unit are senior members of LA County sheriffs and very accomplished. And there is the possibility that there is more of that explosive material near that bomb squad truck where this incident happened this morning. That is why we are seeing such careful behavior from LA County Sheriff's deputies and federal investigators down there, because they are unsure if there is more explosive material in there. Now, I want to show you some video that was shot a little bit earlier with SkyCal. This is of the very emotional moments when LA County Sheriff's deputies embraced each other upon learning that 3 of the deputies here had died in this explosion. But now we know that the FBI and the ATF have agents on scene, including possibly this example from the bomb squad, using that very heavily armored gear to approach that LA County Sheriff's bomb squad truck that you see there. That is the focus of the investigation. Now, the bodies of the 3 deputies are on the opposite side of that truck. They are only partially covered. They have not been moved yet. And that bomb squad technician there doing a very careful analysis of that truck, looking for more evidence of any explosive material. Investigators cannot approach this scene and do any kind of an examination until they know that it is safe. And based on information that LA County sheriffs have, is that they cannot do that until the scene is clear. Now, you can see that bomb squad technician did return to the command post, and it looks like he is giving a debrief here. Now, federal investigators are going to be the one that could very likely take this over to avoid any conflict of interest, because this is LA County Sheriff's deputies who have died. They may not want LA County Sheriff's Department to investigate the death of their own officers. Now, if you come out to my screen, I'm going to give you an example and show you where this is happening and the size of this campus. So what we're looking at here is the northern part of East LA. This is the 10 freeway and the 710 freeway, and the facility we're talking about is right here, the Biscaloos training facility for LA County Sheriffs. This is a lot of first responders have offices here. LA County Fire Headquarters is here. This is LA County Fire Station Headquarters. LA County Fire Station 1 is right there. And then the explosion happened in this parking lot. And I'm going to zoom in and show you. We've been seeing this with SkyCal. So we know that the truck, the bomb squad truck, was parked right about here. The bodies of the deputies are in this zone right here, this triangular zone. They're quite far from the bomb squad truck, and they're separated by 10 or 15 feet. So this blast, very, very powerful. We also know that there was an LA County Sheriff's Patrol vehicle here with the back window that's broken out. We did not see any damage to the rear here in this area, so we do believe that the blast was focused in this direction. And of course, all 3 of those deputies died. Their bodies are still there, and they can't be moved by the LA Medical Examiner's Office until the federal investigation is complete. The scene is secure and the evidence is secure, and of course, the scene is safe to enter, and that could take hours into the afternoon until they get that secured. That is the very latest here from the desk. I'll send it back to you.
Well, Mark, a lot of new information to process there, and definitely changes what we were assuming about this incident. Thank you so much. We're getting more reaction into this tragic incident. The San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department issued a statement that reads in part, the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department extends our deepest prayers and unwavering support to our brothers and sisters at the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department following today's tragic incident. Our hearts go out to our brothers and sisters at the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, to friends, family, and co-workers of those affected, and to those who lost their lives and those who were injured. There are no words that can ease your pain. However, know that we stand beside you. Everyone impacted by today's incident is in our thoughts and prayers. In this time of sorrow and uncertainty, please know you are not alone. We stand with you, offering strength, compassion, and heartfelt solidarity today, tomorrow, and always. The Riverside County Sheriff's Department released a statement saying, our hearts are heavy as we mourn alongside our brothers and sisters of the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department on the loss of 3 deputies who tragically lost their lives this morning. Prayers for family, friends, and the entire Los Angeles Sheriff's Department. Just shows how emotional, of course, all of these law enforcement officials are feeling.
An official this scene, obviously it is handling, but again, with dealing with risky and dangerous components like this, you just never know what can happen. Highly trained people obviously work under these circumstances. This is a highly trained facility. They take every precaution necessary and possible, but it could have perhaps been something where they didn't think it was dangerous.
And as we talk to some retired federal law enforcement officials and law enforcement officials with experience in handling these dangerous explosives, we do know that, of course, as you were mentioning, they're highly trained, as well as very mindful of the fact that any type of explosive material they're handling could be unstable, could be volatile. You don't know the shape it's in, especially if it's an evidentiary material, something they got from a scene somewhere else that you don't know how it was stored or kept, or what kind of elements it was enduring. So clearly all of those questions
or how
still
old
remain.
it is.
That's right, and hopefully we'll learn more in just a few minutes. Let's go to Mario, who is on the ground there around the perimeter of the facility. Mario?
We can tell you for the first time they're starting to let vehicles up here that are not emergency vehicles, and that's because they're preparing for a news conference in about 20 minutes or so, and some of the media now being allowed up to set up for that at the training facility where 3 LA County Sheriff's deputies unfortunately lost their lives. The LA Fire Department calling this a preliminary training accident. We know the FBI Los Angeles office has now responded. The LA County Sheriff's Department Bomb Squad and the ATF, they're starting a thorough investigation after that explosion around 7:30 this morning, reported at the Biscalou Center Academy training, also known as the Biscalou Academy. This is where training happens. The facility serving as a full-scale training center for the LA County Sheriff's Department, and it's a huge department, nearly 10,000 sworn deputies employing about 18,000 people, and many are just finding out about this tragic news here out of the East Los Angeles area. 3 again killed after that explosion, and 1 person who was injured and taken to a hospital. We're told federal agents are working to learn more information on the scene right now. Again, that investigation just getting underway, and we've been talking to residents out here throughout the morning near this roadblock, as well as workers. They have not been allowed up, at least residents, because of this hard closure about half a mile, maybe a quarter mile down the road from where that facility is located. We can also tell you that that news conference, that is where we're expected to learn more information, and we'll of course bring that to you as soon as it happens. We'll send it back to you in the studio for now.
All right, Mario, we appreciate you being out there this morning and providing as much information as you can and speaking to people there who work in the area or live in the area. And we did hear some people describing what sounded like a really deep, loud explosion at this.
Reverberated.
Yes, there was this like echoing type of a thing. But we also heard from people who work in the area but work in very loud facilities, and so they're used to obviously being in near a training camp, and they're used to hearing noise, so perhaps it didn't quite register with them.
But they did say that this was unusual. It was not the normal sounds that they hear from the facility as those officers train. So it was kind of eye-opening for some who heard it and felt it, who were living nearby.
Caught their attention, that's for sure. All right, let's go to Christina Gonzalez right now. She's there waiting for this news conference to begin shortly. Actually, any minute now, right, Christina?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, we understand. And if you can take the mix minus out of my ear, please. But what we have is we're being told that the sheriff himself will be the only one speaking here today. As a matter of fact, let me get out of the way because I believe we are beginning to get some of the brass arriving. He's going to have quite a few people with him, but he is going to be the only one speaking. At this point, we are at the base. You can see also the ATF and explosion and fire investigation trucks that are coming in at the base of the facility. As I told you, ATF is out here, one of several agencies that is going to be helping in this investigation. Whenever something like this happens, you actually have help from other agencies. But the entire command staff is coming here. You can see them hugging. This is not a happy occasion. Needless to say, people are pretty upset about it. 3 deputies have passed away. 1 is in the hospital. And yes, we're supposed to begin at noon. The sheriff will be speaking to us. We have heard words of who the 3 people are, but we are not releasing any names at this point, waiting for everybody, families to be notified. But again, at noon, they're supposed to be speaking and letting us know a little bit more. Hold on a second. Okay, so the sheriff is walking this way. He was actually up at the location where the explosion was. He was getting information from the investigators over there, and that is literally up the hill from where we are. So he is walking down. You might be able to see him from the helicopter, as a matter of fact. But he will be the only one speaking at today's press conference. I'm waiting for him to arrive. As soon as he arrives, of course, we will go live to that. I can tell you this is a very, very rare occurrence. Last time something like this happened in our city in 1986 out in North Hollywood. Bomb specialists working on a device at a home they had found, and 2 people died. Since then, they made a lot of changes, and you've seen a lot of the times when we respond to these things, they actually have robots, and they have x-rays that those robots take to make sure that anything they're working on is rendered safe. We didn't see any of that here, which seems to indicate, at least preliminarily, is that they were transporting something that they thought was safe. But again, we don't know. But here is the sheriff. He is walking up. And I'm going to get out of the way. Let's see if he starts talking and what he tells us. You can see them all hugging one another, though, before. This is really hard for them. It really, really difficult. He is first walking over to talk, to say hello to some of the other people who have been here. This is the command staff of the Sheriff's Department. And LAPD is showing up. That's the chief to show his condolences. Other agencies are letting them know that they are also grieving for them, and this happens in this kind of case. But
we're
waiting for Sheriff Luna to walk up to the podium, which she is expected to do at any moment, surrounded by LAPD Chief McDonald and others. Let's see what he has to say. We're ready for you, Sheriff. Thank you.
Well, good morning to everybody, and I want to thank you for being here, and your patience in waiting for us. We've been very busy, as you can imagine, over the last several hours. I'll be the only one speaking today, and I'll be answering your questions after I speak. But if you look around me, the team that I have, that I'm surrounded by, members of the board, my partner, Jim McDonald from the LAPD, Tony Maroney from LA County Fire, CHP. I could go on, and I'll talk about some of that as we go on. So it is somewhat of a beautiful day today weather-wise, but there's definitely a black cloud hanging over the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department and our county family. This morning, shortly after 7:30 a.m., an explosion occurred at our Special Enforcement Bureau, arson explosives detail facility located in the 1000 block of Northeastern Avenue in East Los Angeles, which is right behind this hill. Tragically, there were 3 sworn members who were fatally killed that were assigned to our arson explosives detail. No other department members were injured or transported to any hospitals. This is, unfortunately, the largest loss of life for us as the LA County Sheriff's Department since 1857. Between all 3 sworn members, they had served our community proudly for 74 years, and that's amongst all 3 of them collectively. 19 years, 22 years, and 33 years. And at this point, we are not giving out their names. One of the reasons it took me a while to get out here, one of my priorities is the families of our deputies. And I've met with several of them this morning. There are still others who are on their way. There are others who have not been notified. The last thing I want to do is them to turn on the news and find out that way. So thank you for respecting that at this point. My second priority were our employees. Our employees are hurting right now. Members of our Special Enforcement Bureau, other members of our arson detail as well, arson explosives detail. In regards to the details of what happened, I'm going to give you what I have right now. There's a lot more that we don't know than what we do know. But our intent is to look at this from the very beginning and figure out what is it exactly that caused this tragic event. Currently, our homicide detectives are on scene, and they are investigating the deaths that are being, and we are being assisted by the Federal Bureau of Investigation, who are investigating the post-blast portion of this incident. You have seen other vehicles other than FBI. You've seen the ATF here. They will be assisting the FBI as well. I am very grateful to the bomb squad of the Los Angeles Police Department. And I mentioned Chief Jim McDonald standing behind me here. They immediately came out to assist after this explosion occurred to render the devices safe. And just so all of you know, they were just rendered safe within the last minutes, right before we walked out here. So it was still an active scene. It wasn't stable, and definitely a very active crime scene as we go forward. At this time, we do not know the cause of the explosion. However, the specific area has been closed off due to the ongoing investigation. We believe there is no threat to this community. Actually, I could tell you there is no threat to this community. This is an isolated incident. And again, no threats. We have road closures, Eastern Boulevard between Blatchard Street and Lotta Drive. And again, I do want to thank all of our local partners, our local elected officials that are here to help us get through this very difficult time. We have our Psychological Services Bureau personnel on scene that are assisting our employees at this moment, along with peer counseling and chaplain services. And as I said earlier, I have met with 2 of the 3 families thus far. And as you can imagine, those were extremely challenging conversations. So Anyways, ready for questions. Those are all good questions that Pete just asked. Now that the investigation has started, now that the investigators can actually get in to the scene that it was just rendered safe, we will be able to answer all those questions. Too early right now to be able to answer that.
Were there other military style or military grade explosives nearby that were rendered safe by the LA response?
We will know that hopefully in the next couple of hours.
Sir, were they moving these explosives from one place to another? Were they investigating existing explosives already in the facility? Or why were they doing?
All these questions are really good questions, and they're the questions that we have as well. The investigation is just about to get started on all this, and these are all the questions that we're going to want answers to, and we'll get them. But simply, right now, I wanted to get out here. I know all of you have been waiting for a while. I'm giving you the information I have, and we're not there yet. Thank you.
Can you say something in Spanish for us, please?
Let's wait for the English, and then we'll do the Spanish afterward, if that's okay.
We heard that someone was injured as well and taken to the hospital. Are you able to say the status of that person?
Earlier, we had 3 fatalities of our employees, which I call heroes. They're very heroic in the work that they do. We had no other injuries other than the 3 fatalities. And just so all of you know, the members of this team, I've heard over and over the word elite being used. I think sometimes that term gets overused. But if you're familiar with our Special Enforcement Bureau, they're the best of the best. And the individuals who work our arson explosives detail, they have years of training. And these members, usually the average calls that they go to in dealing with some very dangerous situations or items average about 1,100 per year. So these aren't people who don't do this very often. They are fantastic experts. And unfortunately, I lost 3 of them today. Those are all questions, Pete, that we're going to get to. We need to go from A to Z to know exactly what happened. That's why we have our partners here from the Federal Bureau of Investigation that will be conducting the post-blast. There'll be a lot of details coming out there eventually. ATF is here to assist them, the National Response Team. These are individuals that have a lot of expertise in what they do. And again, all the questions being asked, very good questions. But if I waited to get the answers to those, I'd be here probably in 2 days. And I'm just trying to get out here in front of all of you. The question is, are we anticipating a procession for our 3 heroic deputies who passed away? And the answer to that is yes. There will be a procession. I don't have any specific information on that, but it'll happen the next several hours. I don't have the answers to those questions yet. And again, getting out here, trying to be out here at this time to inform all of you, our community, to know what we know at this time was very important. Again, all of you are amazing. You're asking very important questions, and we're going to get the answers, I think, to, if not everything, to most of them but we just simply don't have that information at this time. There is currently an investigation going on to determine what happened from the very beginning to the end. I know everybody wants answers. Please understand, we just rendered the scene safe. Within the last 30 minutes, the LAPD bomb squad rendered the scene safe. We have to go back, investigate what happened from the very beginning, and we'll get there. Just not going to happen this soon. I would be very irresponsible to try and answer a lot of these questions without the information that I need to positively give you facts, and I don't have the facts at this point.
Sheriff, we understand that you're telling us everything you can tell us, and we understand we got to wait. By when, roughly, you think you can have another press conference to tell us more information?
We'll, through our Sheriff's Information Bureau, we'll put something out in the next couple of hours of when we would have more information. But I'm going to tell you right now, based on my experience, when we're conducting these type of investigations, it doesn't take hours to get some of this information. It takes days and weeks. We do not rush this investigation. We want to make sure that we're extremely thorough. Ladies and gentlemen, we lost 3 lives, and we want to make sure we know what happened. We don't want to repeat for this. And again, all the questions that are being asked are very legitimate. There are other law enforcement agencies who have bomb techs, not only around the country, around the world, that want to know what happened here. So we want to make sure that no one else, we don't repeat this, right? So thorough investigation will be done by multiple agencies, and we'll get back to you about it. It sounds like everything is repeat questions about the incident. I can't answer any of those right now because we don't have those facts yet. So with that, thank you all, and then we'll keep you updated on any progress on anything else. Appreciate each and every one of you. God bless you.
All right, you have been listening there to Sheriff Robert Luna talking about what happened, and he said something really important. He said, up until the point I came out here to have this press conference, the scene was still very much an active scene.
Yeah, they just rendered it safe minutes before that press conference, and interesting to know.